Traffic likely to be more than anything else. A little bit of it coming off of Kiambu Road for now into the CBDs where you see the most of the action today. Mombasa Road looks pretty good as you get towards the CBD. And coming off North Airport Road, seeing a build-up of that towards the Eastern Bypass. That's just about it for now. Let's keep an eye on things through the morning and let's talk on Spice of MKE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
19.
Yeah, those ones. We are now live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Mombi says, congratulations, Mombi. You've now graduated. Is it up? You refresh the page, it'll come. You just keep refreshing. Okay, you'll find it there.
Okay.
You will find it there. Okay. What are the stories? Give us one big one.
Okay, so let me give you one big story here.
Yes.
Money was sent to schools. Okay. Capitation money was sent.
Okay.
But now we're saying 24 billion out of the 28 billion that was supposed to be sent is what happened. But now schools are decrying and they're saying too little, too late. Even though the release of capitation funds was seen as a huge relief to schools battling serious cash crunch after a long wait, stakeholders decry the amount and the inordinate delays. According to head teachers, the money released is 20% of the 2022 capitation for third term. So this money that came yesterday, or that was sent yesterday, which is likely to hit accounts today, and for others then on Monday, that it is actually 2022 money that they're sorting out, and only 20% of that. Money released yesterday is 4 billion less than what Education CS this week promised would be sent to schools, and that was not even the complete amount. All right. The financial crisis in public schools may worsen even as the government released 24 billion capitation money yesterday. It is now emerging that the money released may not be adequate as schools are yet to receive money for first and second term 2023. The head teachers argue, the last disbursement to school was done 3 months ago in January. School heads argue that the money released is merely 20% of the capitation of 2022 for the third term. The head teachers argue that no money has been released to cater for this year's first and second term. The confusion of how much schools are owed, the lack of clarity on what percentage of capitation has been released per child, is adding into the financial crisis in the public school sector. It also emerged that the 24 billion released yesterday was 4 billion less than what CS Machogu had assured MPs would be released this week. So he appeared in Parliament, and these are some of the things that he said. But when the rubber meets the road, it's a different story. It's a different figure. Teachers are complaining, rather school heads are complaining that even though the funds were to be seen as a huge relief, this is a bigger problem because they are not current. It was released yesterday and it comes after the last disbursement that was made 3 years ago. The chairman of Kesha, which is Kai Indumuli, and his primary school heads association counterpart of KEFSA, Johnson Zioka, said that at the moment school heads are stressed. He said, "I am aware that schools have not been able to pay workers' salaries since the last term, which was around February, and schools are now under the mercy of suppliers and risk being taken to court over the huge debts." So even as this money came, which was one of the issues that they were trying to put through to the CS, even as this money is coming, what are we talking about? We're filling up the holes from last year. So that's why we were insisting that a little bit more of that comes so that we can at least try to be current. Suppliers have to be paid because they've taken food, they've taken many things on a credit basis, and they need to be paid. So the question now back to the ministry is, when is the next tranche of money coming?
Oh, yeah.
It's a mess.
It's a complete mess. So yesterday some cash went.
Yes, they'll get it today or Monday, depending on who you bank with.
What? What? Okay. Hi, let me tell you stories of energy. Yesterday, there were two big things that were happening in Nakuru County, specifically Menengai. Okay? Now, number one, there's a new geothermal power plant that is going online in Menengai. It's a local IPP. It's set to commission 35 megawatts of electricity from the Menengai geothermal wells by July. So Sian Energy is undertaking its operations in the Menengai caldera of Nakuru County, and it's under a PPP that will put in some 35 megawatts. So Sian Energy's director Kigen Moi said the first phase will sell 22 megawatts of power. He says we've been able to beat the deadline to deliver the project on time. This is now been fit, and it's a demonstration that our local companies can deliver in terms of excellence and operating within timelines. The investment is part of the government's efforts to harness geothermal energy from the Menengai crater. So as this was happening, as Kigen Moi was addressing the media and talking about the progress they've made and that they'll be online in a couple of days' time with 22 megawatts of geothermal, on the other part of Menengai, the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, the Energy CS, Davis Chirchir, and the Governor of Nakuru County, Her Excellency Susan Keheka, were also commissioning another geothermal project. It's called Globe. Let me tell you. The government is seeking partnerships to develop the country's energy sector. Gachagua was speaking yesterday during the groundbreaking ceremony for the Globelec power plant at Menengai Geothermal Project in Nakuru County. This one is also another 35 megawatts plant that will should be completed and be supplying power to the grid in 2025. So those two plants, in about 2 years' time, we'll have some 70 megawatts of geothermal power getting into the grid. Clean energy. So this is basically, if you look at all these things and you put the politics aside, Kenya is transitioning towards being completely 100% or at least 98% clean energy.
This is a fantastic thing.
We lead the world. Currently, we're at 87%. 87% of our grid is clean energy. Yeah. We are talking about geothermal being number one, number two being wind, number two being hydro, number three being wind, and then we have solar. Clean energy. Big thing. Geothermal currently contributes 45% to the grid. It's the biggest contributor. And this is a very, very big one. So when the world is telling us about, global warming, let's go this, let's go the other, and this is where now Ruto was talking about the other day. What we need is the technology, because we don't own this technology. What we need is to be able to get to a place where we own the technology, we are inventing, and we are deploying our own technology. Yeah. We're completely ahead.
Would be years ahead.
Big time. Big time. So these are some good news, that things that are happening, despite all the other nonsense that takes place in the country. City, tell us something good.
Yes, on page 18 of the Star, structural defect emerges on new Mombasa court building.
Court.
Yeah, Mombasa Law Courts.
Yeah.
It was launched the other... Oh, no.
Yes, the structure was actually started in 2018, and they wanted to launch it the other day. Now, the problem is, what they found were cracked columns, compromised beams, walls detaching from the main structure, cracks, the first floor flooding.
Walls detached from the main structure.
Yes.
Where are they going?
The walls are falling down.
I mean, they're moving.
So the wall
So
is
like this,
moving,
wall is
the
doing
column
this.
is cracking.
Yes.
There's no structure.
It's nothing there, man.
Yes, that's why they said structural defects.
What?
And then flooding on the you know they even have basements. Okay, so there's flooding even in the basement when it rains.
Good Lord.
So people are supposed to move into this building. The old law courts was just supposed to be the magistrates' courts. Okay, that has all been halted. I read here to find out who it is who designed this thing and who built it, but there's no information about it here. Because essentially it looks like they may need to bring this building down.
What?
Because when you have such defects, what it means is to rectify it, it may be more costly than actually putting up the new a new building. So how did this thing go wrong? And this building cost 445 million Kenyan shillings.
You know, let's accept some things.
Let's pause.
Okay? There's something that we are very good at doing in this country. Everything in government is not done by government, is done by private sector. Okay? And this private sector is you and I, ICT.
That is very true. As we are definitely private sector.
Okay? So, we have no expertise at all in construction.
No, we don't. Our expertise
But we
is
will
elsewhere.
bid for a construction project.
Yes.
And we will, because of who we know, win a construction project. Okay? Then we will now go to and hire an engineer. You know, for when we are putting we will go to Engineer Ndu. Engineer Ndu will tell Engineer Ndu, just do for us the specs, blah, 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 show us how these things are going to be done. We pay Ndu. When we win the bid, we start now working, not with Engineer Ndu, who is on record, but we now go to another.
We go with Tundu's assistant.
Yes.
Okay.
We cut corners, because all we want is to see a building coming up. We do not care about
Function, form.
all those things we don't.
And then the building comes up.
And the building
In
comes
this
up.
case,
And then the
down.
building starts coming down.
Yeah.
Before it has even stayed up.
Yep. Now, this is what we do. If you look at yesterday there was a news item about, the people who were contracted to build schools. You know those classrooms of Magohas?
Yes.
Oh, Magoha was going around inspecting and saying these schools are going to be ready, 10,000 classrooms. Those people haven't been paid, imagine. Now they're up in arms, tulijenga shule hatujalipwa.
shule.
If you look at those people, they are not people experts in the construction industry. They're just contractors, the developers who want to bid and then they use the other people. That's what we do in everything. We need to pause and actually step back. And this is where the professionals fail themselves.
Like recently, there was this tender for some roads. I don't remember where. And somebody highlighted names of individuals who supposedly got part of that tender.
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember even the other one for Stadium.
Yes. Oh, that I recall vividly. Oh, yes, I recall.
Yes.
The water one.
The water
That which they built and
stadium,
completed.
the Kiambu
the finished
stadiums. If you look at those names that were being put out there, Moses Kuria is one of them. I don't know who former MPs were doing which one.
Those people are not contractors.
They're not.
That
They're
is not the area of expertise.
Exactly.
But yet they were given. By the way, just so that I should be complete and comprehensive by mentioning, even part of the roof is beginning to fall.
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
why not?
Yeah, so they've decided they've looked for another contractor to rectify the issues. These issues are not small issues. These ones. Because essentially, I think the structural issues...
Entire thing.
Yes.
is
There's
faulty.
fault in the structure. So what are you rectifying?
The entire thing is faulty. It's crazy.
No,
And I was saying this is where the professionals, the engineers who have gone to school and they know they're the ones who should be working.
And the association.
We can start our company, it's fine. But we must have a resident engineer who is full-time, who is the one who's doing the job.
Eric, not just
We as business people, just the same way, Devki is not a steel smelter, but he must have people who understand this business.
Eric,
who work there.
I agree with you. I agree with you because there's a company somewhere in this area that I know of. Let me not mention the name because I may be giving them free advertisement. But they put mobile structures made of steel. Okay? They have draftsmen. They have engineers. They have architects.
Yep.
Their buildings are steel. There's no ifs and buts. Just all of it is steel. But when you go there, you talk, you see a design before they do anything for you. But it is mobile. Meaning they take it for you, they erect it, and should you want to move it, you can move it again. You're right. Professionals who are known to work in that industry are the ones who do the work.
Yes.
Yes.
That's how it should be. So when you find these questions here, you're like, where are the professionals and why are they quiet when these things go?
But there's something I need to read here also on page 8. Something that's happening in Nandi County.
Yes, please.
It's a shake-up, they say, looms at Kapsabet Referral Hospital in Nandi. Now, 4 high-ranking officials within the hospital structure were told to step aside because there's a patient who died.
What?
It was mentioned that the patient was mishandled, referred to Moi Referral, died at Moi Referral. The community was up in arms. They said this person was neglected at the hospital. So the governor said, okay, who are the people in charge? Let's look at that line. Okay, now you people just step aside.
quickly.
No, step aside. Letter was written, step aside as we look into this issue. Now, why this story caught my attention, okay? These people have been asked to step aside, then a probe committee has been set up. But you have been mentioned. Just step aside as we look into this thing.
Wouldn't it be fantastic if that was the MO for everything else?
My point exactly. Because you are going to make sure not even a whisper of malpractice, no matter how remote it is attached to your name when it comes to patients. Because this isn't the first time I've read a story of complaints coming from that particular hospital. The saying is the hospital is full of staff who only fight over personal interests and don't care about the plight of patients. Now you tell me.
Wow.
If that is the view of people who live in the area that you're supposed to serve, what do you think it is that you're doing wrong?
Yeah. That's why I keep saying the power of community. When the community is fed up with something, you will see action.
You will know.
You will know.
You will see action. People will be like, this hospital, something is wrong. This
Enough.
road, something is wrong. This school, something is wrong. This country is where we draw the line.
You know, you are
This
right.
is where we draw the line.
These guys petitioned the governor, by the way. There was a resident, and it was led by a certain gentleman called Paul Kibene. They petitioned the governor. Now, petitioning is not just they wrote a letter. They sent people, they said, Governor, we have a
Take
problem.
action.
You better take action here.
It's a good thing. Citizen action. Let me take you to Kakamega County quickly. There's a village in Kakamega County called Shiyunzu Village. And there's a 60-year-old man here called Wycliffe Ochango Mukuywa. On this one day, Wycliffe Oyango Muchunwa feels it's very, very hot. He lives near some forest and there's a stream. At around 3 p.m. on this May 20th, Mukuywa was feeling uncomfortably hot and he decided to go and take a bath. A few meters from the river, a rustling sound from the bush along the narrow path made him pause to investigate. What followed, as he narrates, happened so fast he did not have time to react. A black python that had been stalking a goat tethered to a tree in the bush rushed at him, coiled itself around his legs and lower torso, and threw him to the ground. Instinctively, he struggled to throw off the serpent. After a short struggle, the snake slithered away and left him bruised and badly shaken. He says, I struggled with it in panic for a while before it suddenly released me and disappeared into a nearby bush. All the while, there were only 3 children in an open space nearby, but they could not understand why I was on the ground and screaming. They were just saying, the man, he's 60-year-old, this is Guka to those kids. So it's just they couldn't understand what was happening. Kumbe, the man is wrestling a python. Pythons are huge and they are common in this area. Shiyunzu villagers say it's a miracle that Mukuywa escaped the attack. However, some of them have a ready explanation for the close shave with the snake. One of the villagers who preferred anonymity claims the python that attacked Mukuywa is domesticated by a witch.
That was coming.
That's why
It only acted to scare him away and find a way to escape. If that python were truly wild, this woman would not have lived to tell the tale. It's a domesticated python.
That one was coming.
Folklore has it that witches in some Luya communities used to rear snakes and leopards as tools of trade. It was rare to see such snakes, and the leopards would only venture out at night. They would run around the village, scaring villagers, especially children, who were warned not to stray out at night. With the advent of Christianity and modernity, this practice has nearly died, but die-hard witches still hold on to their pets. Now, Mukuywa's neighbor is a woman, and she saw him, but she's not really willing to talk because people could just start saying, you are the witch. Ene nyoka ya mama nani. Kuma ni nyoka. Karibu iwe Mukuywa bwana. Karibu iwe bwana. Sasa fikiria kama ingekuwa mtoto. Ingekuwa mtoto. It is 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The Kenya Bureau of Standards has blamed Kenya Revenue Authority for the disappearance of contraband sugar that found its way into the market. In what is spiralling into an agency's war, the Standards body told MPs the 20,000 bags of 50 kilograms suspicious sugar were under custody of KRA at the time they disappeared. KEB's acting MD Esther Nyeri said the suspicious consignment was sealed off by the authority's enforcement wing at Vine Park Godown in Thika and had remained under watch of the taxman.
The terms of reference were very clear to ensure complete conversion of all the sugar to industrial ethanol. The AG called for a physical meeting between KEBS and KRA on this subject, and on his evaluation of the matter, he gave the opinion that the proposed arrangement of release for alternative use was consistent with the law.
The committee has also been informed about the entire process of using the sugar to make ethanol chemical in the Metro Brewery Limited factory in Machakos County before it was found being sold in the market.
Madam MD, you are coming to respond. Tell us where does that sugar vanish to? Because we have no any evidence that the sugar is somewhere.
Kenya Bureau of Standards on 26 May 2023 released a public notice to warn the public of the possibility of non-compliant sugar in the market and guided the public to be cautious with products without standardization mark.
Public schools across the country are expected to receive capitation by today. This comes after Education CS Ezekiel Mashogu, while appearing before the National Assembly earlier this week, promised that funds would be disbursed across institutions. This announcement comes after school administrators publicly highlighted how difficult it is to run school programs without funding.
I've had an engagement with the Principal Secretary of National Treasury. He has confirmed that the funds will be in the ministry, and I hope that by Friday of this week is that our schools will be able to receive capitation funds.
The fate of Siaya Deputy Governor William Oduor now lies in the Senate after he was impeached. According to the law, the Deputy Governor's removal from office starts by majority of MCAs voting for his exit. Thereafter, the Speaker informs the Senate, which convenes a special sitting within 7 days after receiving the removal document. Speaking after Oduor's impeachment, Speaker George Okode said he'll communicate the decision to the Speaker of the Senate, Amason Kingi, within 2 days.
The members in support of the motion for removal, those who have voted yes, or I vote yes, are 42. I vote no as 0. I abstain as 0. And therefore, the House has unanimously passed the motion on removal from office William Oduor. So, honourable members, in line with the provisions of Section 33(1)(9)(a), read together with Standing Order 71, 11, and 72, I shall within 2 days inform the Speaker of the Senate of the resolution of this House to impeach the Deputy Governor, William Odhiambo Oduor.
Police in Bungoma are investigating 2 incidents where the victims are said to have died by suicide. One of the victims, a second-year electrical mill student at the Sangola Institute and Technology, was found dead in his rented 2-bedroom house. He left behind a suicide note which indicated a love triangle. In another incident, a 26-year-old woman was found dead at her family's homestead in Loyo village. The deceased, who'd been living in Nairobi, said to have secretly returned home on Wednesday night before taking her own life in the compound.
Hizi visa zote mbili zilifanyikia mahali moja, na moja wakati askari wetu wamefika pale wakagundua ya kwamba kulikuwa na mambo ya mapenzi, kwa mambo ya kijana, na wakapata ile suicide note kuonyesha what really happened. Na kwa issue ya msichana, ni mtu ambaye amekuwa na mazoea ya kujaribu kujitoa uhai, na vile alikuwa anafanya kazi Nairobi, hatujapata ripoti kamili kama kuna mtu walikosana naye huko ama imekuwa ni kama tabia yake.
That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
All right, not much in terms of traffic. We're looking at a little bit of it coming on to Lunga Lunga, quite some. Joga Road, Lunga Lunga, all those parallel roads, then heading out towards the Likoni interchange or towards the city. Landis has some traffic this morning. And not looking too bad on the Thika Superhighway. Usually Friday, it's not too bad on this road. Some traffic coming off of Kiambu Road, but outbound traffic on the Thika Superhighway is something to be dealt with this morning. Let's look at James Gishuru, which is starting to pile up that as you get towards Waiyaki Way. It's busy on Gong Road in some parts, and Naivasha Road and Gitanga Road are going to start picking up in a short while. Let's keep an eye on that and see what happens coming up into Friday morning, and talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This
7
is the
minutes
Situation
after 7.
Room,
Have you
the only
downloaded
way
the
to start your
911
day.
group app? Because this is what you need as your mobile alarm system. If you download this app, then you have it active on your phone. Wherever you are, in case of an emergency, in case you need rescue, you need support, all you need to do is open the app and press the panic button, and it directly locates you wherever you are. Send this to the 911 security group command center, and they dispatch somebody to come and help you. Maybe it's your car that's stalled somewhere and you need support, and immediately you get dispatched for. Maybe you are at some position at some point in distress, and you just press that panic button. They react. The best and most effective response system available. Just go to Google Play Store, Apple App Store, download the 911 group app, and everything else is easy peasy. At least you get some bit of peace of mind. Sarit Center is 40.
Indeed it is, and getting into the weekend is a fantastic time to shop, isn't it?
Yep.
Helping Sarit Centre celebrate at 40 is saying get into any of your shops, any of your stores at Sarit Centre between 1 and 2 p.m. If you spend 2040, spend 2,040 shillings, you can then enter into a draw which could see you win a cruise, a car, vouchers to many restaurants, gym membership, etc., because Sarit is 40 and offering up great shopping and great experiences. We here at Spice FM helping Sarit Centre celebrate as well. Tell us, what would you spend 2040 on? What would you spend 2,040 shillings on at Sarit? And we have a hamper for you to win today.
Indeed we do. City.
Yes, please.
Our proverbs for this week have been from the country of Malawi.
They have been from the country of Malawi.
The capital of Malawi, you said, is?
Depends on whether you're talking about the administrative capital or the commercial capital.
So let's start with administrative capital.
Take a guess.
Lilongwe.
Yes.
Take a guess,
Okay.
let me tell you.
Leakage.
And then the commercial.
So Blantyre is the
Yes.
commercial capital.
Like that.
Okay.
Okay.
And the president is that man who lived in Buruburu for a while.
The man who even taught in that Bible college.
Yeah.
Yes, his name is Lazarus Chikwera.
Okay.
And his VP is called Saulos Chilima.
Sawa.
Sawa?
Today's proverb?
Today's proverb. A piece of incense may be as large as the knee. Take the proverb as it is presented. No comments about body parts. But unless burnt, it emits no fragrance.
Just like a knee.
Okay.
Unless the knee is burnt.
A piece of fragrance may be as large, of incense, may be as large as a knee.
If it wants. But if it's not burnt,
it's as useless as a knee.
my friend, it emits no fragrance. The knee is very useful.
Piece of work, this guy.
This guy is not a piece of work. This guy is pieces of work.
Now, there's a very interesting story that you read for us today.
Yes, it is.
And this is about a hospital and a community.
Yes.
Please, tell us the story again, City.
You know, this story, the headline speaks for itself. It says, shake up now looms at Kapsabet Hospital following death of a patient. A patient died. Patient by the name of Kipchumba. After they had died, the relatives said this lady sought hospital care on May the 19th this year. Okay? And she was allegedly mishandled, transferred to Moi Teaching and Referral, where she died. They came back and said, Apana. Had this lady been given the care that was due to her, she need not have died. Forget dying, even the transfer was not necessary. So, when the matter was looked into casually, it was found that, one, there are many issues in this hospital. It isn't one issue. Okay? One, there are some senior managers who are said to be very high-handed. And how this is manifested in itself is that 4 doctors have asked to be transferred from that hospital to go elsewhere. So they can't work with this manager. This person thinks they are God's gifts to whatever it is.
Okay.
Doesn't listen to people, or barks orders at you, doesn't listen to things that you need. They say, no, this atmosphere, we can work elsewhere. Okay? Then it appears that story of self-interest, this hospital has a 24-hour canteen, otherwise known in rural areas as a hotel. Okay? Okay? There's been wrangles between some officials. 2 were singled out as to the tender who should actually run this.
The canteen.
The canteen.
Okay.
Okay? Now, if they're wrangled about a canteen, they'll be wrangled about other procurement issues.
Yeah.
This article doesn't state them, but the moment that comes out, it means people are aware that there's some money that can be made at the hospital and they want to be part and parcel of it. Okay? Now, the case of negligence doesn't just stop with this lady called Kipchumba. 12 other members of staff were also suspended because there have been other complaints about neglect by hospital staff. Okay.
12 others.
12 others. The total number of people who've been suspended here are 15. So a 5-member team was actually formed to now probe into this particular matter.
Okay.
But what started this was our residents of Nandi, led by a gentleman called Paul Kebinei. They petitioned the government to stream the operations of the hospital. They claimed that it was riddled with graft and incompetence. Now, that is a summary of what they said. Now, if I know what communities do, it isn't just a matter of that they wrote a letter. The MCA was involved. The MP was involved. Meaning they went to these people and said, this is a problem and it needs to be sorted out. And for them to get to that point, this is merely the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
There had been problems, and I think that led them, they said, okay, no problem. And remember, given the employment structures as per our constitution when it comes to hospitals, the bulk of the people who work in this hospital will be locals. So they know what's happening. And they have relatives.
Yeah.
So there's very little you are going to do that the community does not know. And for it to get to this stage, it means it has piled up over a period of time until when this lady died, they said, no, this lady did not need to die. No, they did not need to die. And something must be done. Now, the governor has responded to the petition. And they said, okay, these people, the people involved with these ones. Of course, you talk to the hospital administration. Step aside, please. 5-member team formed now. Probe into this thing, get back to me. And with suggestions of what we need to do. That's why the headline, shake up now looms at Kapsabet Hospital. Yes.
So this is one issue, one instance of a community rising up to raise an issue.
Yes. Saying
and
no.
coming together to raise an issue because there's something that's happening in a facility that should be serving them and they feel that they're not getting the service that they ought to be receiving from this facility.
Yes.
They take action.
Yes.
Not isolated at all. Remember, this is in Nandi. In neighboring Kericho, there have been issues about farms, the multinational tea plantations, the rights of the indigenous communities here, and what should happen, who should own this land, how much have the Kipsigis been disenfranchised from the land, the Talai community, and all those issues. And people have been pouring onto the streets and raising an issue and saying, no, this matter needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Community coming out, community having an issue that they want addressed, and community getting out to address it. Now, in some cases, of course, it gets bad where, for example, in Kericho, there was a whole issue of vandalism of
destroying
blacking
property.
machines, right? In other areas, the other day, we read a story from Kisii County.
The road.
About a road. How many kilometers was that road?
14.
It's a 14-kilometer road that has been in a state of disrepair and dilapidation for many, many years. It was a campaign issue. Those who were campaigning in that area, the ward MCA, the MP, the governor, all of them came and said, "Hii barabara mosijali, hii barabara nipatieni kasi, nikiweka tu Biblia chini hivi." The people have waited. The people are not seeing action on that road. The people have come out to
And
demonstrate.
MPs have come and gone. The sorry state of the road remains constant.
Yes. Now the people came out and they started doing what people do with roads. They started planting bananas.
They said this is a farm. This
And
is
they
a
said
road.
this is a farm. Forget about this issue. Raise it. It is not the only part of this country where you've seen this thing happen. Even in Katondo, you remember there was a story about some roads in Katondo where people came out again and did the same with bananas planting.
Yes, they did.
And they say this road is in this dilapidated state. We need action.
Yes.
When people are fed up in this country, you will see.
Remember when it was in Embu, I believe, when Boda rider.
Yes.
Yes.
There was some skirmishes about a Boda rider and
also-
police.
And someone was shot.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they said, wait a moment, what do you mean? We're merely protesting. What were we doing? Did we destroy anything? Did we cause any harm? How can this... We are demonstrating. Someone goes and dies. What on earth are you telling us?
How are those two related?
Yes. We are merely exercising a fundamental right that we have. We are allowed to picket. We are allowed to demonstrate if we're unhappy about something. And then your response is you shoot us.
Same thing happened in Isibania.
Yes.
Same. Things have been happening in Isibania. There's been increased insecurity in Isibania.
Yes.
People do not need a politician to call them mandamano on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
No.
People just come out and say, no, there's insecurity in Isibania. Things are happening. We need action.
And those who are supposed to ensure that we live securely are not ensuring that we live securely.
Yep.
So we are letting you know that things are not good here.
And I think that's a level of citizen participation or participatory governance that we talk about all the time. And I think it's getting to the point whereby these are isolated incidences. They're not incongruence. They're not that people in Isabinia are warning people in Kericho County or people in Wasingishu that should this happen in your area, we're going to do this. No.
No, they're not communicating.
Exactly, they're not communicating.
They're responding to issues that are pertinent to them.
Yep.
Absolutely. And this is part of governance. Whether it is for me to remind you what your role is to get it done by demonstrating or coming out together and going to speak to governor and saying this absolutely cannot happen. And for the requisite action to be, well, okay, then let's do something about this. And I keep saying that until you get to the point whereby you're either against the wall or you are fed up. You are fed up with the promises that are being made and you decide to do something about it. Like, yes, plant bananas in the middle of a road that is supposed to be a road but looks more like a farm. Or until you take yourselves to the governor's office and say, excuse me, this thing has been happening for years and nobody's done anything about it. We are here. In fact, we're outside. We camp here with you until you do something about it. That's the language sometimes that people hear. And because most times citizens feel as though they are powerless in terms of administration and authority, the voice that they have, my friend, is louder than you can ever imagine once it comes together. And sometimes that is what needs to happen. But you know the reason why it doesn't happen as often as you would like? Because people are not fed up.
I think it happens often at local community level.
No, but hear me.
Every day at local,
hear-
there's a local community that is raising an issue about something that affects them directly. The thing is, how about the other things that are at a bigger level? How about things that are happening? For example, they're feeling, people of a certain county are feeling, no, we are not getting.
This is where I was going. That it is not happening at the level that you would like is because others have not picked up from what happens when you actually come out and speak about your discontent with something. That you can see, wait a minute, does this, and it's not necessarily activism, but does this demonstration of dissatisfaction actually work? And by all means, it absolutely does. Because the reason why leadership treats a people in a certain way is because of the expectation of their reaction or inaction. They don't expect that you will come onto the streets and start shouting in Nairobi. They don't expect it. So they can do whatever they want. They can come and make a promise to you and say, yes, we'll fix this road. The resident feeling is that these people, we can just keep coming and telling them that we'll fix, or we'll come and promise them, because we don't expect them to come out and do or say anything about it. That response from the governor where he says, okay, hold on. There was something here. I don't even know what it was. But until we find out what it was, how about you all go home and let's figure this thing out? Had it not been for the response from the community, do you think he would have taken that action? Do you think that there would have even been any kind of investigation into what has been going on at this hospital? Do you think there would have been something like that? The role that we can actually play in participatory governance is a lot more than we actually realize.
Yep.
So much more. So like these isolated incidences that we see where people are saying, hold on a minute, the insecurity in this area is too much. Look at what's been happening in the Kerio Valley, for example. Have the people had a voice?
Yep.
Have they had a voice? Absolutely they have. And they come out and they say, you know what, this is too much. Our children cannot go to school. Do we live in Kenya? Our children cannot go to school because of this. And you people are here having meetings in Nairobi discussing this, that, and the other thing about our fate. Well, here we are. Somebody got in trouble the other day, a few months ago, when she said, you know what, then allow us to carry arms. And then she gets in trouble. But the truth of the matter is that it is not expected of people to come out and, demonstrate their dissatisfaction with a certain matter. And so it's left like that. When people are pushed to the wall, they will come out. But I'm saying, don't wait for it to get to the wall. Don't wait for it to get to the wall. Let people know that what you're supposed to be doing, you have not done. We are going to come and tell you, you ought to do your job.
I think that what I see as a problem, and my view on this is, there are things that we see that affect us directly, and we feel that they are very close to us, and we can take action at this local level. And that's why you see a school community, people will rise up against a school head. They feel that this school head is heavy-handed, whatever, and they want the school head out, and they come out. And parents of a certain school will come out and say, no, we do not want a certain headmaster, we don't want a certain teacher, we want action taken on this teacher. And it still happens. In Meru, they decided to even slaughter the cows, school cow, and eat it.
Yeah.
The school administration just being silly with this cow. They decided, you know what, we're going to eat our cow. It's better that way, to maliza hii story mara moja. But you see, when the issue is localized, people can see the connection and they take action. We then are not able to connect the dot when the issue gets out of our local community.
True. To see that you
or
can
we
get
leave
the
it now
same
to be for
results
somebody else. We expect the people in Nairobi are the ones who are going to demonstrate of a certain issue. This issue of the finance bill, many people across the country have expressed their views in one way or the other, all right? But in the issues that affect them, when now you're going to have 47 finance bills across the country, all of them at local level. If a finance bill in your county, you feel that the county government is proposing to tax your cow before it's born, and you're feeling now this thing, what are you going to do about it? How do you raise that as an issue? How do you actually come out and express yourself? Not destroying property, not burning things, not just coming out and expressing yourself, and even petitioning the local government, all those things. How do we connect? How do we escalate what happens at local level?
You know, this discussion about the Kapsabet Referral Hospital is heartwarming in this sense. It's not just a story of someone who passed away.
Yep.
Action has been taken, a committee has been set up. So one can actually wait and see what are they going to recommend? What's actually going to happen to ensure that this problem, because whenever you hear these problems, those are the manifestations of the issue, the symptoms. How is the problem going to be solved? Remember, I had read a story earlier on about the new law codes in Mombasa.
Yes.
You know, the people who raised this alarm were the Mombasa Law Society. Mm-hmm. They have a chairperson by the name of Charles Upulu. And his allegations were straight substandard materials were used. They didn't take into account the climate in Mombasa. They didn't do this. This would have been a lot stronger if we had had the Agricultural Society of Kenya, the Society of Quantity Surveyors, the Society of Structural Engineers also come into this discussion, because so that we can actually see what happened.
Yep.
Remember, there is a meeting of the annual High Court Leaders Conference in Mombasa. There's a hotel called Pride Inn. Why do all these conferences go to Pride Inn? Anyway,
That's a space.
That's the space. So other hotels don't have space for conferencing. Anyway, I am being sidetracked here. Rather, I'm sidetracking myself. The question that I'm raising here is, we are told in this story that the contractor has since fled.
Fled.
Yes, the Martha Koome, CJ, was supposed to officially inaugurate this building. But with all these stories, we even had some courts moving in and had to move out. Sorry?
Okay. Yeah, the judiciary is in Mombasa.
Yes, they're in
As
Mombasa.
we speak.
High Court judges.
I remember there was a little drama about Ahmed Nasir being invited
Yes.
by Justice Eric Ogola to come, and I'm told they were classmates, to have a little chit-chat about, some session. And then a little hoo-ha came up, and then another hoo-ha came up.
But the judges met anyway.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's it. And the judges are continuing to meet. But what am I saying? If you look at the sum total of complaints that are raised, often there is something missing. After they are raised, what then happens thereafter? The conclusion to it. And this, I'm referencing the scandals that we come across.
Yep.
And you can go back into history.
Yeah.
Huge hoo-ha. Huge court cases, people brought in, blah, 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 mentions, nini. And then slowly, and most surely, it dies down until a new scandal comes up. And you never really quite hear of the end of the story.
Yep.
Never quite.
Yep.
Now, that's where the problem is. And perhaps, Eric, what we're discussing here, this is where now the Mwananchi ought to take this up and say, excuse me, all these cases involve our money. All of them. If it's a scandal, it's our money. Okay? Now, since it is our money, we would like to see the conclusion of these cases, because we are told by the judicial system that they have a process by which they can fast-track certain cases. It's already in the courts. And you're the people who manage these things. Why don't we get to hear the end of many of these stories? We are a country where people have died before the cases are completed. And we are still waiting. And the problem with these cases, it is not a case of an individual. The moment you're an individual and you're mentioned, it affects your family.
It does.
It affects everything that you do. Now, in the absence of a conclusion, so that we know what really happened, if the headline was that you have misappropriated funds, that is what sticks. Even if you didn't.
It goes with you forever.
Yes, to your grave.
Just because those who are supposed to have concluded this matter are not concluding the matter.
Yes, they are not.
And the connection here comes back to what the conversation we had with Mutemi Wakema earlier this week, when they were organizing that demonstration against the finance bill. And Ndu asked, so these things happen all the time. What is it that needs to happen to sustain them? And Mutemi was very clear. What we need is a sustained conversation. If you start something, you keep at it until action takes place. We see this at the local level again. When parents rise up against a school head, they will continue doing so until action is taken. They will not stop. When people rise up about a road, they will continue doing so until something is done.
Mwiki Road, Kasarani.
They did the same.
Yeah.
They continued until something was done and the Mwiki Road was sorted. When people, at that local level, we are very good at picketing, at agitating, at advocating, at raising our voice, at demanding action and following through with action. When things get out of localized, when they become now bigger, now that's where we lose. Like nobody is following up. So there was a demonstration once about the finance bill. It ended on that day, it moved on. There was all this conversation 2 years ago about COVID billionaires action. National Assembly was summoning people, the Senate was summoning people, the EACC was visiting KEMSA rather, the military and NYS was sent to KEMSA, staff were told to work from home, a CEO was suspended, procurement manager was suspended. The president said, I want a report at my desk in 2 weeks' time. It died. Why? Because we just Move on.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying in terms of making the connect. And if I can just quickly, I know you want good break. If I can make an example. Remember I told you guys how the road where we live is finally being constructed.
Yes.
And you guys thought it was a phantom. It's actually true. The road is being
What is true, the phantom or the road?
The road is actually being done.
It's actually being done.
Right.
However,
Come on.
so there's every road construction has a contract according to law. There's a contract. There is a developer. There is a contractor.
There's even like a huge signboard which tells you who these people are.
Exactly. They will give you the measurements and everything. I have seen participatory governance on this more than I've ever seen in this area for the longest time.
How?
Now, it is probably because the road has been so bad that people have had to fix their cars, so they're really vested here in terms of let's actually see that this road is actually finished and completed. Now, site engineers have been contractors have been on site for the last 7 months working on this road. Now, like magic, they've decided that 150 meters of this road will not be completed because, they've run out of budget or whatever. Mind you, budgetary allocation was made to specifications.
That's how it's usually done.
That's how it usually is.
Yes.
And it follows the contract.
Yes.
So they give you budget based on the measurements that you have made. Quantities of surveyors come out and they do their thing. And then you go to budget after you have submitted.
And it's for the whole road.
Road.
Its entirety, yes.
So somehow here, in the middle of all of this, you then decide 150 meters. That's like from here to the end of there. We're just not going to finish it, yeah? And we'll come back and maybe in phase 2 we'll do it. So the question is, what happened to the terms of the contract where you were supposed to have fulfilled? And how do you just make the decision? I don't think the site engineer was ready for the people, the residents of this road, who had said, on this one, we are not going to let it go. People drive and stop and say, where are we today? It has gone to, and so this is a typical example of what Eric is saying. It has gone to the point whereby people are asking the site engineer, no, this is what the contract stipulates.
Meaning they went and found what the contract stipulated.
Yeah.
There was public participation, and according to the law, the results of public participation are as good as evidence.
Yes, exactly.
So you should be able to finish it. Right now, the woman is being engaged to the point whereby, Auntie, look, if you don't do what you said you were supposed to do, we don't have a problem taking it forward. But until this thing is finished, we are not going to rest. So I hear what you're saying. At a level where it affects you directly, people will do whatever it takes.
And they will spare time.
They'll go to Machakos where you said your office is. They will go. But then now, take that same vim and try and take it to a greater...
Move that road from the local road
to national.
to the trunk road.
Nobody will... You don't see your impact.
It moves.
Why?
It moves.
The answer is actually quite simple. What does that major road represent? Who do you stand to be picketing against if it goes to that major road? It's a representative. The thinking about how we respond to power is often at play here. How we perceive power, how we respond to power, how we relate to power. At that local level, we know it's this contractor and us.
Yeah.
We'll take our one.
It's us. You're at our level, we can handle you. We take it to a huge highway.
Who are we
Say,
seeing?
"Hey,
Yeah.
Whose toes might we be stepping on here? And do we really want to step on their toes? It's a question that people ask. There's a level beyond which people would rather just let sleeping dogs lie. They'd rather, okay, we are not comfortable with this, but we are actually not going to get involved.
Yes. It's because I think you also start looking at it and seeing distance.
Yes.
And thinking it's going to take me a lot longer to actually
it
get
doesn't drive home for
this
you.
thing sorted. So you get frustrated even before you begin. Let's take a break though. We continue this conversation. 26 to 8. This is the Situation Room, the show that reminds you that come the end of this month, if you haven't filed your returns on the first day of July, you start accruing penalties. Sawa. Kacha. So you better make sure that you file your returns before. This month ends on 30th and 31st?
30th.
30th of June?
Yeah.
Okay. So before the 30th
Friday.
of June, It's a Friday. Before midnight, Friday, 30th of June, make sure that you file your returns. It could be nil returns, it could be whatever. Just make sure that you file your returns based on what kind of citizen you are. Are you an individual who is unemployed? You have zero returns? Just go and file nil returns. Are you a foreigner who has a business in this country? Just go and file your returns. Are you a Kenyan who is employed and you can get your P9 from your employer? Grab it, file your returns. Are you a Kenyan who is living abroad? You also need to file your returns. itax.kra.go.ke.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Bro, the game's about to start. Let's go. Yeah. But just give me a minute, man. Malize. What's up? Who are you chatting with? I'm just filing my returns, then we bounce. Because I hope you remember the deadline is June 30th. The game will start, banner. Where? It doesn't take time. And yep, I'm done. That was fast. Where? Show me how you've done yours, because I don't want to pay any penalty. Just log into itax.kra.go.ke and file your returns. And if you don't know how to, just go to KRA's YouTube page and watch a tutorial. It's that easy. Allah, filing returns is easier than cooking. Easy peasy, say.
Kenya Revenue Authority reminds all PIN holders to file their 2022 tax returns on or before 30th of June 2023. For assistance, call 0711 099 999 or email callcenter@kra.go.ke. You can also visit any of the KRA service centers or any Huduma center countrywide. Kenya Revenue Authority. Tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
I have a brother. He was a pilot. He was laid off. He came to a policeman. He messed up.
He went from a pilot to a policeman.
Exactly.
He stole a jet.
Yeah.
In fact, you should be lucky he was not court-martialed.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Indeed, it's all about hashtag Spice Drive, hashtag Quatch, KWACH, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi at 14, highs of 24 today and lows of 13. We'll see lows of 14 in a partly sunny Nakuru at 15. And at 15 is partly sunny in Nyeri, highs of 24, and 23 will be the high. In a mostly sunny Eldoret at 12. It's sunny at 24 in Mombasa and 24 in Malindi. At 20, sunny conditions in Kisumu, highs of 29. And we'll see highs of 28 in a sunny Kakamega at 16. 21 and mostly cloudy in Kampala, highs of 27. And Dar es Salaam will see highs of 28. It's mostly sunny at 24. 10 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 20 and lows of 3. And it's partly cloudy at 25 in Lagos, highs of 30. We'll see highs of 31 in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 23.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so we're seeing an accident that has occurred, unfortunately, on the Thika Superhighway this morning. Use your service lanes, car wash and Garden City. From there, use your service lanes to try to get into the city so you can avoid this accident situation. They're still trying to sort that out, so please be very careful. Unfortunately, there's been another one on the Southern Bypass from Kikuyu just before the Gong Road Junction, and traffic is building up mightily. So if you've not left, you might want to think about holding on just a little bit or use an alternate route. Okay, traffic. There are too many this morning, but quite a number of accidents on the Thika Superhighway. So traffic after survey is non-existent. Before that, it is quite something because it's all piled up due to the two accidents that have taken place there. Are you coming into the city from Westlands? You'll be all right. Outbound traffic on Waiyaki Way is what we're looking at as you get out towards Limuru, then out towards Naivasha and Nakuru. Spice FM KE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving and be careful whatever you do this morning.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And Citizen Agency. When citizens take up agency and they do something about it, something happens at local level. There's a case today. There's a story today in the Star about a hospital in Nandi County. What's the hospital called?
It's called Kapsabet Referral Hospital. It's an old hospital, this one.
This is a big one.
It's a very, very old hospital. And one of the things that was known for was actually the excellence of service. Kapsabet Hospital has been known for the longest
People
time
knew
that if you want, people would forget Eldoret referral. That's a new one. People would leave Nyanza to go to Nandi and to Kapsabet Hospital. They were known. In the same way, Kericho Hospital was known as an excellent hospital. Now, what is also of interest is that there were other hospitals in the region, but people would go to what we now call Rasha Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Referral Hospital. So we have a situation where the public hospitals in these regions, you find they were known for
centers of excellence.
People actually did what they're supposed to do. Now, the stories coming out of these ones are not stories of excellence.
And when that happens, citizens, because they know what they've received from this facility before, when the quality of care dips, they rise up. And they come out and say, no, there's things that are happening. This and this and this has happened. And they know the channels to use. They know how to petition the governor. They know how to go out there. They know how to raise his voice. They know how to sustain and amplify a voice.
Just consider for a second, how many children do you think were born in these hospitals over the years?
Oh my goodness, many. It's very possible that many who rose up in protest were actually born there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some born, went to school, did what they did, probably came back to work there. So their knowledge of this particular facility is very personal. So they know and they understand.
This is the thing, though, and I think I don't think there's want of this kind of participation at this level. It is clear that once something drives close to home for you, the likelihood of you then getting involved, if anything should go south, is very high. Because you can see the direct impact. What needs to happen is that the direct impact of something outside your community on you as a Kenyan also needs to be seen. Those parallels must be drawn because there is impact. If a major highway, for example, is not functioning, if a major referral hospital for whatever reason is not functioning, it has direct impact on you. And so what we're asking for is that there's a joining of these molecules of power, these joining of these molecules of citizen participation, and saying, can those be brought to a level whereby there are countries whereby you don't touch an ounce of taxpayers' money if you don't ask the people. Where do you think that came from? The very beginning, people knew that we're in this thing together. We choose you to be our leader because maybe we don't have the largesse or we don't have the gravitas to do it as an individual, but we've chosen you. That doesn't mean we don't know what to do.
We know very well
what ought to be done, but we've just decided you be the shepherd here, right? How do we get it from that community level for you to understand that it does affect you? It does affect you. That same angst that you deal with at a community level, to say that, no, come on, this cannot be, is actually, and you're not afraid. You're going to see the contractor, you're going to see the engineer, you're going to see the governor. You have no fear.
That is why, that was the wisdom behind devolution. That whole thing of, bring governance and decision making and accountability closer to the people.
Make it local.
And you localize it and start with the village councils and you go graduating it like that. Now, if we were able to make devolution work very well and then devolve more functions, then now we'd have greater accountability. There was the other story of Bomet, and a certain contractor who'd been given a job to create a culvert. And they decided that they were going to create a hill instead. And the residents rose up and said, this is supposed to be a culvert. We know what a culvert should look like. This thing that you've done here is not a culvert. And they're demanding action. All these things we see from across it's because when decisions are localized, then you're able to also hold the person accountable because you know where they are.
Exactly.
When this thing is bigger, it's national, then you don't know how your voice moves from this to that national office. You do not know. Everybody can understand. They can see their child in grade 7 going to a local primary school and coming back home and there's no teacher. The local parents can see. no teachers have been posted to this school. Maybe one teacher has been posted for all our 700, 800 pupils who are in grade 7. They can see. Local parents can also see these kids have not received textbooks. They can see. Local parents can see, my kid was in this particular school until grade 6. Now they've been told this school can no longer hold JSS. They have to move this kid to that other school. They can see, but they can also see this is not about the local head. The local head has no power here. This is about somebody else who has not posted a teacher. And I think that's where the disconnect begins. So even if we demonstrated at this school, who are we addressing?
Eric, you've gotten the heart of the matter. Speaking as somebody who was the chair of a board of management of a local school, you can't be chair of the board of management of a local school if you're not a local.
You must be local. They must know you.
You are a local. They know you. They know who your father was. They know who your grandfather was. They know you. And all the people you work with in that board are locals. Very many of those teachers are also locals. Yeah. So the truth is this, and at the primary school level, literally everybody there is a local.
Yep.
So they actually know what is going on. Just extrapolate that now to health facility. They will know.
Yep.
The problem is not their knowing; it's what to do about it.
Yeah, okay. It's if you beyond a certain level, you feel like as if you're powerless.
Yes,
and maybe this is where you now have the social justice networks and others coming in to actually show no. If you actually rose and raised an issue here and said our children cannot continue coming to this particular school every day and coming back home and they're not learning, and yet I've paid school fees, I've bought school uniform, I demand that my child learns. Okay? So the locals will do it. This will at some point start escalating. I have other children in grade 1, 2, 3. I'm pulling all my children out of this school. If all the children stopped going to school, then that school head has to report to the county education bosses and say, you know what, wazazi wamesema watoto wakuji hapa shule, wamefunga shule because of grade 7. Something will happen. Somebody will come from a higher level to address them and tell them,
Absolutely.
now, but this is what's happening. Teachers, Pana, you only sent one teacher here. How can one teacher teach 700 children? No, children are staying home. Something will happen and it will move and it will get up to the president, who believes that 38,000 teachers have been recruited when the TSC is saying they haven't hit 38,000 yet. You see? Because in State House, the president believes the order that he gave is let's hire 38,000 in this.
And he talks about the 38,000
this year. And then after the budget, we'll put in a budget for an extra 35,000 teachers by June next year. So we'll have hired about 80,000 teachers, over 70,000 teachers by 2024. He thinks that is what is happening.
And yet
now on the ground, that's not what is happening. Now, if citizen agency rose up and said, we only have one teacher here for 800 grade 7 pupils in this school. This is nonsensical. It cannot work. That will be addressed.
Do you know part of the reason that I feel this matter has gotten traction is because of the governor? There are governors whom people petition and then give up. They realize this one, we're wasting our time.
Doesn't hear.
This guy does not hear. He's not even here, wherever he is. But for people to petition, there must be a feeling that this governor listens. So let's petition. Now, even if they didn't believe that and you see this action, the community then believes, wait, we have a governor who actually listens. We actually complained and we have seen some action being taken. It means he heard what we had to say and he has done something about it. This governor is a listening governor. And when you have a listening governor, you can tell.
Now it's about the follow-up.
Yes.
And think, so yes, you've done this, you've done the other. Okay, what next? Right?
Yes.
Similar thing about Kericho. The Kericho governor, Dr. Eric Mutai, he constituted a task force to look into this issue of the tea plantations, the multinationals, the historical injustices on land and how to address them. Task force came up with a report. Okay, we are implementing the report. People are still impatient. That's why you're still seeing people agitating to keep that matter up there. So it's possible if you start something and we keep the matter up there, we don't have to wait for Raila Odinga to tell us go to the streets on Tuesday. And that now becomes another whole political issue. It will be issue-based. It will be, this is it. Right now, across the country, education is an issue.
It's a big one.
It's an issue, and it's a disaster that's unfolding on a daily basis. Today, pupils in grade 7 have gone to school. Pupils in all these schools have gone to school. They haven't received their capitation money because there was no money. Now it has been sent. It will take a couple of days before it arrives. This is an issue that we, all of us, ought to be talking about.
And the good thing about the advancement of things like technology is that it allows you to be participatory at whatever place you are. Nobody has the excuse of saying we can't participate because held up here. Actually, you can. It bothers you to the point whereby, you know what, we need to have a conversation. This is where caucuses came up. This is how caucuses were invented. That in your community, you're having a conversation about something, you're agitating for something, you will hear of it happening in the next. And the leaders of those two somehow come out and meet. This is where they were born from. This is how you get to the point whereby you say, you know what, these people are not taking this thing sitting down. So it's either you do something about it or you relieve yourself of the position and allow somebody else come in who can. But the conversation must be front and center. You have to keep talking about it. You have to keep agitating. You have to be involved. Again, I say, and take it seriously, the expectation by a lot of people who are in a position to do something about this is that you will not. Is that you will not engage. That you will see something happening and you say, oh, okay, they didn't finish that part of the road. Okay, so maybe they'll do it some other time. No. They must expect that you will come out and say something about it, and so they will do their part to make sure that they do the right thing. And that conversation will continue rising. It continues moving to the next level. And these things tend to happen organically. Nobody's asking you to go and spill guts and blood in the streets. No. There are ways in which these things can be done for you to get maximum effect. And we are saying that it's about time that folks realize, you know what? Look at what has happened in some other area. We too can do the same thing. These stories are making national news. They did not happen on a podium for somebody to see. They happened in communities.
They were not sponsored.
No, they were not. But look at the effect. The effect has caused somebody to be having a conversation about it. And
they were not funded.
They were not funded.
It spurs somebody else on to say, you know what? We also can make our conversation front and center and keep it up there. Keep it boiling. I was told the story of a shop somewhere in Thailand, a food shop, where there's a 40-year-old soup. This soup has been on the boil for 40 years. All they keep doing is adding ingredients to the soup. But because they don't know the original recipe, they are not going to turn off the fire and chuck the soup out. They just keep adding water, seasoning, but it keeps going. It's always on the boil. People want to come and be part of it, and that's the same thing that this conversation has to be. Has to continue being on the boil. The original recipe you may not know, but you can keep adding to the soup. And that's what we're saying. That's the only way you're going to have something like this, and you can't keep quiet.
You know, there's a pervasive culture of not wanting to speak any truth to anything that resembles power. It's being overcome slowly, but the understanding of the rights and the power that the Constitution gives the citizen, it's something that hasn't quite sunk. We talk about it, civil society people talk about it, it hasn't quite sunk. And then what runs interference against this again is this African culture about respect. It's not cowardice, it's just respect. As Africans, we respect authority. We respect older people. It's respect. You approach them cautiously, gingerly. It's not an in-your-face approach like one witnesses in movies that come from the West where somebody literally insults you to your face and that's supposed to be a conversation. No, we're not that way inclined. So how do you find a middle ground where you actually communicate your dissatisfaction so that it is heard and understood and you continue doing so? Instead of believing that for such conversations to take place, it must be funded and the funding must come from overseas. That this is something that you can actually do yourself without just the people who live in that area saying, okay, folks, do you think it is possible for us to have this conversation with these people? The moment the communal sense that distinguishes us as Africans is done away with and become individualistic, then these conversations become impossible.
Yeah.
Because even if you start it, somebody will interfere with it. Somebody will scuttle it. Instead of joining, they'll scuttle it because they feel, why am I being moved out of my comfort zone? You see that road that leads to the place you live in? You know, some people have adjusted to it. They know it is bad.
So we're going to budget to fix our cars.
Yes. Yeah. Or we're going to budget to drive. Whatever it is you're going to do. Instead of saying, but, we pay taxes. This road needs to be built. A simple thing. Back to this matter of the High Court in Mombasa, the building. That land on which this building sits has had controversy. There was a time when a private developer took it over. It's, again, this law society that fought to have that land returned to the court. This thing in Kenya where it's supposed to be government land, some person decides that they need to have this land, and they fiddle and they do this. It's happened with school land. It's happened with prisons land. It happened with
railway land.
Railway land. Now goodness gracious me, there's a lot of it. They went to town on that one. Airport authority land. Now, when these associations that handle certain bodies, certain professional bodies speak out, we say they are organized, but it's the organization is people who organize. The people, and now these people just live in communities. It's not as though there's one particular estate where people in the law society live or people who belong to the pharmaceutical society live. We all live in a mixed way with all these individuals. Yep. Now, look at the human resource in every community that you come from or in any community that you know in this country, and now consider just how underutilized it is. Because no one is saying, go and destroy things in your wake. We're saying, just raise your voice and say, this is what ought to happen, and it's not happening.
Yep.
And because we've been taxed, as far as we're concerned, we've paid for it.
Yep.
So can we get what is rightfully ours?
It's just localized accountability.
Yes.
We see it. We know that it works. Localized accountability. Now, let us localize it to the whole country called Kenya, all right? Yeah. That's still local.
It's still local. It's our country.
When you have it at that level, it's still localized accountability. But then we ought to know how to do it and how to do it well. We heard it from Mutemi Wakema the other day. That whole issue of forget about wanting to be paid, wanting to be compensated to turn up for a meeting, wanting to be just turn up because you know that there's a wrong that's taking place here and it needs to be righted. Just that's it. That's it. That's what they do. That's what we all ought to do. And if we just understand that we've got the power, as long as you talk about it, whatever platform you have, you raise that voice. If you're strong on social media, raise the voice, raise the issue on social media. There was a lady that we hosted here last year who was raising an issue about sewage and garbage in Korogocho. And she petitioned Governor Sakaja immediately. And Sakaja saw it. And Sakaja said, all right, this is a big issue. Let's actually address it. The other day, she went back to social media and she was saying, it's been sorted.
The matter was addressed.
The matter has been addressed. The matter has been sorted. The children of Korogosho can now come out and play.
Imagine.
Without their parents wondering, okay, unacheza kwa takataka kwa sewage. The power of citizen agency. Let's never underestimate our power. As we go to the top of the hour, there's some interesting tweet that I saw from Ambassador Macharia Kamau, former PS in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is what he was saying. Appalled and disgusted at learning of remarks by a Romanian ambassador in Nairobi in reference to African group members as monkeys. During an Eastern European group meeting, Atashem attempts to cover up this disgrace, this intolerable and unacceptable in any age, let alone in the 21st century. Hiya!
It's still happening.
In
Nairobi, no less.
An ambassador in Nairobi meeting with an African group of ambassadors and making reference to that group as monkeys. Now, I don't know the context and the details of this. It would be nice to follow up on this, but no. There are some things that, need to be addressed. Keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, we host the MP for Kasarani constituency, the Honorable Captain Ronald Karauri. He'll be our guest. Remember, 30th of June is a Friday. By midnight on that day, you should have filed your tax returns. If you don't, 000001, 1st of July, you start accruing penalties. Shauri yako. Don't say I didn't warn you. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The government has warned over the danger of aflatoxin in maize milled across the country. Agriculture PS Kello Harsema said aflatoxin is a major challenge and threat to food safety in Kenya. He said farmers and many Kenyans, especially those who mill flour in the posher mills, don't dry their maize to the right moisture content of 13.5. Harsema further said they are planning to work with counties to ensure maize being milled in the posher mills is tested for aflatoxin. Elsewhere, tension is brewing at the Namanga one-stop border post after hundreds of trucks ferrying maize from Tanzania into Kenya were denied clearance over lack of permits. The over 500 trucks have been stuck at the border for 2 weeks now, with traders counting losses resulting into millions of shillings. The traders accused the Tanzanian authorities of frustrating them despite having paid levies and acquiring the right import permits. They vowed to paralyze business at the border if their concerns were not addressed urgently. Statistics from the Ministry of Trade and Industry in Trans Nzoia County show that more than 1,000 social groups have applied for funds from the Nyeri Fund, most of them being youth and mothers from rural areas. Trade CECM Stanley Kirui says that approximately 103 million shillings has been allocated and will be distributed in installments. He has further urged the groups not to request for loans that have high interest rates.
Nyeri Fund, we have allocated 102 million shillings for the financial year 2022-2023. For a start, tumepata 30 million kutoka kwa exchequer, na hiyo ndio tutaianza ku lend out, receive 1000 applications. Kwa hivyo inamaanisha kuwa information imeweza kufikia watu wengi sana. Watu wengi ambao wamekuja kufanya application ni akina mama na vijana. Kwa hivyo pia ningepantia wazee changamoto pia wao kuja kwa wingi.
The Public Service, in collaboration with the Emerging Public Leaders and Emerging Leaders Foundation, will today hold a graduation ceremony for the first cohort of 51 fellows and graduation of newly recruited 65 fellows under the Public Service Emerging Leaders Fellowship Program. The ceremony will be presided over by Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and also CS for Public Service Aisha Juma, as well as Head of Public Service Felix Kosgei. Cabinet Secretary Susan Nahumecha is set to appear before a Senate committee to shed light on the bungled 3.7 billion shillings mosquito nets tender. The CS will appear before the committee as the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority said no bidder qualified to supply Global Fund with the mosquito nets. Kenya Medical Supplies Agency had picked two firms as qualified to be awarded the tender before Global Fund terminated the process, citing irregularities. Senate Committee on Health Chair Jackson Mandago said the Principal Secretary of the National Treasury will also be invited. Police in Bungoma are investigating two incidents where the victims are said to have died by suicide. One of the victims, a second-year electrical male student at the Sangola Institute and Technology, was found dead in his rented two-bedroom house. He left behind a suicide note which indicated a love triangle. In another incident, a 26-year-old woman was found dead at her family homestead. Deputy Police Commander Joseph says the deceased, who'd been living in Nairobi, is said to have secretly returned home on Wednesday night before taking her own life in the compound.
Hizi visa zote mbili zilifanyikia mahali moja, na moja wakati askari wetu wamefika pale wakagundua ya kwamba kulikuwa na mambo ya mapenzi, kwa mambo ya vijana, na wakapata ile suicide note kuonyesha what really happened. Na kwa issue ya msichana, ni mtu ambaye amekuwa na mazoea ya kujaribu kujitoa uhai, na vile alikuwa anafanya kazi Nairobi hatujapata ripoti kamili kama kuna mtu walikosana naye huko ama imekuwa ni kama tabia yake.
And in the international scene, 4 young children who were stabbed in a park in France southeast are now in stable condition. The children aged between 1 and 3 are being treated in hospital. Police overpowered and arrested the knife man after he entered a children's playground to carry out the attack. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Traffic is coming on the Thika Superhighway all the way from Kasarani, and it's heavy as you get out towards the CBD this morning. Heavy, just past Survey, and we're also looking at it on Kiambu Road. Many lanes now, not quite sure how many there are. Outbound traffic is also a thing on the Thika Superhighway. We're looking at James Gishuru, busy as you get towards Waiyaki Way and into the city. Coming in from Limuru Road is heavy as well. Gong Road starting to join Friday morning drama, as well as coming in from Gitanga. You're going to get onto Riara and then through towards James Gishuru. All right, also looking at Lunga Lunga. That started very early this morning. Not sure what's causing that, but we have a spillover to the Lekoni interchange, touching a little bit on the southern bypass. So let's keep an eye on that one. Into the CBD as well, seeing some traffic. And there it is, North Airport Road, heavy as you get towards the eastern bypass. And then onto Outer Ring. Let's see what happens as we go along. Those 2 accidents that happened on Thika Superhighway, watch out for that, guys. It's going to slow you down some until it's totally cleared. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter. Keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Of The Situation Room this Friday, the 9th day of June, 2023. Grab your phone, go to your App Store or Play Store, look for 911 Group. It's an app. It's an app that you need, because this one is where it gives you a panic button that you can press wherever you are, whenever you're in distress, whenever you're in need. So what happens is, once you've downloaded this app and then you get into a situation that you need immediate attention, maybe you're in distress and you need some support, maybe your car's broken down somewhere, maybe you're feeling sickly and you actually are alone and you just need somebody to respond, you take out the app, you press the panic button, and at the 911 command center, they can see where you are using the GPS coordinates of your phone. They see where you are, accurate to up to your location. They dispatch a team to come to you, and they come to your rescue. This is by the 911 Group. It's Kenyan, all right? It's right here in Kenya. So just go to your App Store and Play Store, download the 911 app. We have a guest in the studio. He's a member of parliament for Kasarani constituency. He's been here before. The Honorable Captain Ronald Karauri is our guest. Good morning, Captain.
Good morning, Eric. Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana. It's good to have you back here.
Asante.
A couple of months now as a member of parliament.
Yes.
You're used to, the hallowed halls of the august house. How are they?
It's good. It's a good experience. It took a bit of time to get used to it, but I think now we are getting to the point where we need to start doing the work properly now.
Now you understand the job.
Exactly, yes.
Now you understand the workings, the ins and outs.
Exactly, yes.
We'll talk about that. City has the day's proverb. The whole of this week is being given us proverbs from Malawi.
But I have to ask, have you gotten used to being referred to as Mheshimiwa?
In fact, I wish only the people in Kasarani would call me Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
I prefer Captain, to be honest.
Captain is better.
Yeah.
What about Captain Mheshimiwa?
Captain, one title at a time.
Okay, our proverb from the country of Malawi for today. This is our last day. A piece of incense may be as large as the knee, but unless burnt, emits no fragrance.
A piece of incense may be as large as the knee,
Yes.
but unless burned, and it emits that fragrance. Bure. Captain, what do you make of this proverb? What's your interpretation of it?
It's a well, something can only be useful once it serves its purpose. You could have, you could have something unless you use it.
Once it's put to
what
use.
it's meant to, yes.
Mm.
Then it's useless.
It's bure.
Bure kabisa.
You can be a member of parliament, but unless you're actually doing the thing you're supposed to be doing.
True. Very true.
Yes, bure.
Very true.
Oh, ni bure.
Ni kweli kabisa.
Captain, I've known you for many years.
Yes.
And your quest for leadership and, how easily you listen to people and you want to represent. So all those times when you are with the Airline Pilots Association and you wanted to be in the leadership of the Airline Pilots Association and you went into private business and you were engaging with people across the country. And I was talking about you coming earlier saying at some point you were the biggest sponsor of sporting events in this country.
Correct.
And you are engaging with communities across.
Yes.
And you're hearing the youth and what they were saying. And also coming from a political homestead. These two combined, I'm sure that's how you ended up in that thinking of, no, maybe we need to do something for people. Maybe instead of just talking from the periphery, I ought to get in there and do something for the people. And you went to Kasarani and you convinced them that you're the man for the job. And they gave you the job.
Yes, Eric.
Hi. Now you are in Parliament.
Yes.
Is what you see the same thing that you used to see when you were outside Parliament and you were getting frustrated at our political leaders and what they are doing and what they are not doing?
That's a very good question. It's exactly what I see when I'm in Parliament. Because now, I think there's a tweet I made, I think sometime, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I said, the problem we have in Kenya is too much politics. But I did not give it context because sometimes on Twitter people respond for the sake of responding. It's very hard to have a conversation on Twitter. But since I have this opportunity, I'll elaborate. Because you see, we're at a situation in Kenya where we need leadership more than politics. What's happening with the finance bill is very good for the country because there's a lot of debate. It hasn't happened in a long time, but it has brought the perception to Kenyans that this is the first time there's a finance bill. There are some Kenyans who really believe there has never been a finance bill before.
That Ruto is the one who's come up with this
He's come up with this bill that is going to torment us. But finance bill has always been there and it's necessary because, of course, as you know, the budget has to be funded.
Yep.
So instead of leaders going ahead to educate the people on what is required in terms of the finance bill, there's too much politics at play. I was very happy to see Esther Passaris come out and say some truths that needed to be said. But you can see, especially for Azimio, there's an opposition where they have very valid points sometimes. But other times it becomes a political affair, whereby nobody is going to benefit from that. And if we are to change that...
Nobody?
Well, there's some benefit. But even if you're in opposition... For example, let me say something now. The finance bill as it is, there's no way it can pass as is. It's not possible. But it was never meant to. Because there's always the element of public participation. Again, I've seen Kenya Kwanza MPs stating that the bill will pass as is. What is the point of the finance committee taking views from the public and then not changing a single comma in the finance bill? It becomes unconstitutional. So... that again is politics. Kenya Kwanza insisting it will pass as is, it will not. Then Azimio saying that the finance bill must fail so that there is no finance bill. That also cannot be true. So there must be room for amendments, and they all know this. But when they go to the public, these are the narratives they push out there. That's why sometimes I say in Kenya we have too much politics and we are lacking in leadership. Because these leaders are the ones who are supposed to go out there and say these truths to the people.
Do I hear you to be saying that in essence, if you were to be objective, that many of our politicians are actually not leaders?
Yes. Sorry to say. We have very many politicians in Kenya, very few leaders. And the situation we're in right now, everyone has been talking. Do you know, even last year, The whole narrative was about the debt. The debt that we've acquired. That was the narrative. Even at some point, I remember reading in the Business Daily, they were saying, whoever takes over from Uhuru will have to find out where he'll be getting approximately 4 billion shillings a day. That was the narrative then. The narrative now has changed. When there are revenue-raising measures, now it has become an oppressive regime. So if Azimio were responsible as opposition, I would have let them come forward and say, look, we have seen this finance bill. It's ridiculous. It's a very bad finance bill. What we should do, instead of raising revenue from these people, for example, content creators are going to be taxed. Instead of taxing content creators, let's tax somebody else. Because you cannot just say something is bad and you have no alternative. Because even me as an MP, now I'm independent. I'm very happy to be independent because I cannot whip in
whatever direction.
into either direction. But so that as an MP now you can say, I have this option and this option. The best option is this one. Now you have on one side someone saying, no, finance bill will not pass. And on the other side, people saying finance bill will pass
as
is. Both cannot happen. So what are you trying to tell the people on the ground? And on Twitter, I'm being asked, you are our MP. Are you saying yes or no? But it's not a yes or no question.
Would you then say that even your work is cut out for you in informing and educating?
Yes.
We talk about sensitization. Sensitization, social media does that. It tells, just making somebody aware that this thing exists.
Yes.
But making them understand isn't sensitization.
It is not.
It's actually educating.
It is educating.
Now, do you actually think that these politicians who masquerade as leaders in this country actually wish to have their people acquire the knowledge that they would need to be able to understand? Because from what you're saying, most of us are actually acting out of ignorance.
You know, and that's the problem with politics.
Yes.
You see, for a politician, I would first ask myself, will that education ensure that I retain my seat for the next election?
How does it affect my position?
How does it affect me? Because most of the time, in fact, people are jumping on either side sometimes so that they become popular. Like, if I was to just come out and start saying, I will not support it, I become very popular on the ground. With the people who I'm supposed to lead and educate and tell them, look, this is what is supposed to come from the finance bill. If we are supposed to propose amendments, in fact, public participation should be, there's a specific amendment. There's a specific thing in the finance bill that is hurting me. And in terms of the finance committee, they welcomed people from those sectors. Like if it's agriculture, they call you and ask you, okay, there's this tax that is proposed that is supposed to affect you. Because we cannot be experts in everything. I'm an expert in one thing. I'm not even an economist, for example. But I'm in parliament representing my people. So it means there are certain specific things in the finance bill I could be an expert on. And there are others that they are the experts. So when the committee calls these people to come, that's what we call public participation. They come and explain, look, you guys are proposing this, but I do this. And I can assure you, if you do this, it will have this kind of effects. So even this discussion, before we get the report from the finance committee, because the report is coming. I think it will come by next week. And they'll tell us, we did our public participation. We had people from these various sectors. The content creators came. These other people came, and this is what they told us. And after they told us, they gave us this information, this is our report and our opinion now as the legislators, and we are presenting this to Parliament. So before we engage these experts, sometimes these conversations and discussions become a bit, it's just to raise the temperatures of people in the country. Because I love Edwin. Edwin Sifuna is my friend. I love him. He's a fantastic debater. And whenever he appears on TV, he probably will whitewash everybody. Doesn't mean whatever he's saying is true or correct. He's just very good.
He's just a good orator.
Yeah, and he's a very good asset for the opposition. Yeah, so, it's all politics.
Let's look into the mind of members of parliament for a minute.
Yes.
And that question that Eric asked, when you are on this other side of things as an individual living in community, making your own impact in business, in the airlines, captain. Now, as a member of parliament, do you have an expectation that the people that you shepherd, is there an expectation that their voices will rise up for you to actually go and do something, or do you expect that they'll be quiet?
I think I think there will be a change, but the change has to come from the leadership as well.
No, let me ask it differently. Do you assume that people will actually not? Is the status quo that people are actually not going to say anything about an issue, that they will keep quiet? You don't expect them to say anything, and this is why you can have those political debates in Parliament, because there's no expectation that the people are going to say anything. Do you feel that way now that you are a member of Parliament?
Maybe I don't understand. Expectation from the public itself to say something in terms of protests.
Yes.
This is happening.
Absolutely.
No, I think for me, when I was outside and what I was looking, my whole issue was that there was a lack of leadership. Now, getting the people to comment on something is again dependent on the leadership that they have. For example, we have this protests, let's say we were the Maandamano.
Yep.
I don't think it's difficult. Getting a reason for people to protest is not a hard thing. It depends on the leader and what they want to do. Mobilizing for people to protest is not a hard thing. If you tell me now tomorrow I go get people from Kasarani, I know what I can tell them. I know the way I can interpret something to ensure that they get animated enough to come to the streets. So again, it's the direction of the leaders. And our leaders are actually quite powerful. And that's why it would be good if the leaders point us in a certain direction. It looks like right now, there are some people pulling in one direction. They might have valid points. But at the end of the day, the country has to move. Because where we are right now, there's an expectation that things must improve. And I gave this analogy of an airplane stalling. That before things get better, they probably get a bit worse. And this is the first finance bill from this regime. And most of the things they're saying there, they promised. In Kasarani, they voted for UDA. Except for me. From president to all the MCAs, it's all UDA. I'm the only person who was independent. And UDA kept going around with their manifesto. In fact, for the housing, for me, is the easiest one, if you ask me. Because, to me, it seems like both Kenya Kwanza and Azimio agree on that housing levy. Raila had mentioned it, and Ruto now is talking about it. So, in terms of an amendment, to make it easier, what I would do is ask them to reduce it to 1.5%. Then that means Raila and Ruto have agreed, and then there's nothing to debate.
But why we can see this theatre of drama that happens, which you've talked about yourself, it's political. What we saw on the house yesterday of all the barbs that were flying back and forth is now people are trying to make sure that their spaces are protected. And for me, the question is, what happens to the people's voice, the real voice? Or is the expectation of this circus that people are not going to talk anyway? I'm still going back to that question. The expectation is that Kenyans are not going to say anything anyway, so we can do what we want to do in here.
So we can be the only voices.
So no, but I think that's a misconception.
Is it?
These people you see in Parliament, I will assure you, when they go to their constituencies, they have that power. The people there, the people listen to them. I don't know how to put it. People do actually listen to them.
So people listen to the politicians.
The
politicians are not listening to the people.
They are. You know, what I'm trying to say is that we're in a situation whereby this leader should go back to the people and talk to them. Leadership is not just, I go and take instructions from my people in Kasarani. There's an expectation I can also go explain to the people and tell them, I'm taking this direction because of 1, 2, 3, 4. And those people will actually listen. That is why they voted for these people. They actually have that kind of respect for these leaders. And you might have seen that circus. Of course, we know those MPs who did whatever they did. If they go to the ground, you'll be surprised. They have the support of the people there. And they'll tell those people, I had to do 1, 2, 3 and cause a ruckus in the house because of whatever reason. And those people will cheer them on.
But then, even with leadership is showing people the direction to take.
Correct.
But also taking their inputs and their feedback.
Correct.
And the first thing is identifying them. And that's why even in our topic today, we were saying the role of an MP in representation. So as the representative of the people of Kasarani constituency, it's expected that when you speak, you're amplifying the voice of the people in Kasarani. Which means that the first thing that you did is you listened to what the people in Kasarani want. You had a conversation with them. They told you this is the direction we'd like to take. You gave your input as well, If the direction that they want to take is the same direction that you'd like to go, you agree, yes, in fact, I agree, this is the direction we go. If you think differently, then you convince them why you think differently and why they should then give you the opportunity to lead them in a different direction.
Correct.
But the whole point is you're representing the people.
Correct.
Do you think all the 290 of you who've been elected and sent by specific constituents are actually representing the people? Or are there members in parliament who are leading and expecting the people to follow them?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, because you're right. In terms of, and the main point is, the education part is actually, for example, and I said we cannot be experts in everything. So if I'm thinking of a different direction, it's upon me to go to the people and tell them, look, the reason I think this is good or bad is because of 1, 2, 3, 4. They might not have that information. And Twitter is a misleading place. A famous man once said, Twitter is not a real place. So, and I can assure you, even when I was campaigning, I disregarded Twitter and everything else, because you have to go down to the people themselves. The debate with the people themselves, the people on the ground. And if you talk to them and explain to them, they'll probably listen to the leaders. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
The perception that these leaders have just come up with their own, I don't think it's 100% correct. Because the representation we have that they are going against the people, it's a very small spectrum you're talking about. The people on social media who, sometimes it's manipulated in terms of what is popular and what is not. And you're right. The people should go down. But what would it take, for example, for the finance bill from an education perspective? Because for you to tell them what direction you're taking, they need to really understand what finance bill means, what everything means, so it just doesn't become a yes, no question or an amendment or things touching on them. And you tell them, if my constituents are farmers, I go and explain to them, look, this is very bad for you because now from 0 rated, you're going to exempt.
Yeah.
And we're talking of subsidizing fertilizer. So that, like, for example...
And what those two mean.
What those two mean.
Yeah.
Now, for example, just with those particular clauses, can finance bill pass with those clauses? I don't think it can, because amendments must be proposed to return them to 0 rated. How do you subsidize fertilizer and it's being taxed? It doesn't make any sense. So those are things that have to be looked at. And even now, why I mention that is that's a Kenya Kwanza issue, because they're the ones who talked about subsidizing production.
Yeah.
So you cannot say you're subsidizing production and you're taxing it again. So even from them, they are the ones who should propose the amendment. So they cannot say it will pass without amendments. And even them, they have issues with things that they want to pass.
Mheshimiwa, there's an issue here. And I have this sense that it goes beyond what we're saying, but it gets to the heart of the matter in my mind. Because I'm listening to you and there's something very fundamental that you are touching on. And I want to take the discussion beyond Parliament and take it to the county. Who receive
billions.
Man, it's an unbelievable amount of money. But for some reason, the idea of growing the pot and making counties viable institutions seems to have escaped the bulk of our governors. We have debated this. Is it a capacity issue? Is that people elected and given jobs that are beyond them, the things they can't actually do? Because the middling and the meddling around that we see probably is the sum total of their capacity. And we keep saying they should do more and they actually can't. Or is it that their understanding of what ought to be done begins and ends again with what we see? Because I would be of this opinion. If I were committed to stealing, it would make more sense if there's a lot to steal. So even if I take a small portion of it, no one would actually notice that I've taken it. But when you eat the seeds and there's nothing more to plant, then you can't have a harvest. And that's what seems to happen at the level of the county. Whatever the counties are given are eaten at source. So the possibility of growth is eliminated completely. My view, of course. Now, if that's the leadership one sees at the county level, what hope do members of parliament have with the little CDF that they have, or county assembly members with this money they're hoping that they will get to be able to manage their counties, or the monies that the counties are supposed to allocate to them for their functions. What hope is there in devolution actually doing what it's supposed to do? Because if it did, then we would see leadership at play. Currently, you hardly see it. I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, you know, and it's I know people always say like the leaders are the representation of the people. So, and again, devolution, it's as to me, and you're right, somehow the fight is always the money is not enough. Money is not coming from national government to the county governments.
Yep.
Do the county governments have enough capacity to raise their own revenue? Because ideally that's what should have been happening from the onset. And even in terms of the capacity of utilizing those funds. If you get a thief into county, of course, don't expect anything different from that governor. And I think something needs to change in terms of how counties, when they allocated the funds, it becomes how they account for those funds. It needs to be very, I don't know how it can be made more strict, because counties will always ask for more money. Nobody asks for less money. There's always new things to do.
They hardly ever tell us what it is they've actually done with that money.
Exactly, in terms of accountability.
Yes, when the Auditor General comes in, we are told what they haven't done with what they were supposed to have done.
Exactly.
Before you came in, we were talking about the role of citizen-led initiatives. Okay? And we're asking, is this where now the citizen ought to come in to understand that when this money is given to the county, it's actually meant for me, not the governor and his friends. Yes. And if it's meant for me, is it then doing what is supposed to help me or help my small community? And if it doesn't, then should we now not take the step of ensuring that our money actually works for us? Because it's our money. The money that the county gets is taxpayers' money that is allocated to them to help the people in their counties at what we call the local level.
Correct. And that's why, like, I think as I said when we were starting, where we are starting now, I think is a very good place, where there's all this debate of finance bill. When we get to next year, the debate will have shifted a bit in terms of even educating the people beforehand, people to understand this is what is coming, this is what finance bill means. It will be a different environment. And you can imagine between now and next year, a huge population will have understood what finance bill means, what the budget means, because there's very little discussion about the budget estimates, which the budget has gone up. Instead of people querying now, okay, finance bill wants to raise this much revenue, but it's because we are spending this much money.
More.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we are spending this much, where they should be poking holes or looking at, other than the debt, which everybody knows, is the rest of the money, this 2 trillion going to the executive. Where exactly is it going? Not like, they'll say a certain number of billions is going, for example, to the Ministry of Interior.
Yes.
Why don't you go now and check in that Ministry of Interior, what is this money supposed to do?
What exactly does it do?
The exact thing that money is supposed to do. That is what should be queried at the initial stage. Instead of saying now, when it comes to the finance bill, which must finance this budget and they must balance, let's collapse the finance bill. Now, that will not make sense at all.
There has to be a finance bill.
The finance bill will be there. So long as there's a budget, there'll be a finance bill. So I think leaders need to tell people the truth, that they must pass. When I started that engagement on Twitter, what I was expecting that gentleman to ask me is to tell me is that I'm not happy with housing. I'm not happy with this. Then we can see what kind of amendment we can have, either to delete the whole clause or to propose an amendment to reduce the rate, or whatever it is. But it cannot be a yes or no issue, because I even checked some of the issues. The finance bill also corrects some issues we had in the Tax Procedures Act, in terms of how because I've been a victim of KRA harassment. So Tax Procedures Act is also very important in terms of when they claim that you owe them a certain amount of tax, how that procedure goes so that you can clarify the issue. Like this thing of that you have to deposit 20%. A certain amount of money will create room for KRA to become the biggest extortionists in Kenya. And there will be no money collected. There will be no money collected. You can imagine, there's a time I was given a bill, not me, my company was given a bill of 92 billion
Nice.
92 billion.
92 billion.
All right.
Of course, the purpose of the bill was to ensure I don't get a license, so that by the time you clear that up, you've
time
collapsed
has
already.
passed.
But you can imagine, of course, you protest to the 92 billion.
Yeah.
Now, if they had been told to pay 25%
of 92 billion,
how are you going to proceed? Because you protest, you pay 92 billion. You pay 25%. You don't protest, you look for 92 billion.
you
to
look
pay.
for everything.
You can imagine now they'll go and remember, the person who comes up with this bill, the KRA official, he has no repercussions.
Yeah.
So if I'm a KRA official, I just come to your business, I tell you, you owe 10 million shillings. If you want to dispute, go pay 2.5. So, we're just creating avenue for KRA to become
extortionists.
Yeah.
And just a simple way of them hitting a target.
Exactly.
We're coming to the end of the month.
Yes.
Oh my God, we are short 1 billion shillings.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go.
Yes.
Go to SportPesa, go to Eric and City Company. All those guys, 25 billion, we hit our target.
Exactly.
We report.
Exactly. So that such a clause, honestly, cannot pass. And I think it has been defeated in court before. Yeah, so some of these amendments, honestly.
Let's take a break. We'll continue this conversation shortly. 25 minutes to 9. Our guest this morning is Captain Ronald Karauri. He's a member of Parliament for Kasarani constituency, elected on an independent ticket. And he's here today. We're talking about the MPs and the role of representation. He was running a business. Then he felt, no, I need to participate in all these things that we're making noise outside. How about I participate in being part of the solution? We are seeking to understand his understanding of the journey so far. As we take this break and we're talking about KRA reminds you that you need to file your tax returns. Okay.
Still.
Whatever happens, whether we amend the Tax Procedure Act or not, the one thing that we must do is we must file the returns. And this one happens at the end of every financial year. We close and then we begin a new financial year. So if you haven't filed your returns yet, you have until the end of this month. Go to itax.kra.go.ke. As long as you have a PIN number, you must file your returns.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Bro, the game is about to start. Let's go. Yeah. But just give me a minute, man. Malize. What's up? Who are you chatting with? I'm just filing my returns, then we bounce. Because I hope you remember the deadline is June 30th. The game will start, banner. Where it doesn't take time. And yep, I'm done. That was fast. Where? Show me how you've done yours, because I don't want to pay any penalty. Just log into itax.kra.go.ke and file your returns. And if you don't know how to, just go to KRA's YouTube page and watch a tutorial. It's that easy. Allah, filing returns is easier than cooking. Easy peasy, say.
Kenya Revenue Authority reminds all PIN holders to file their 2022 tax returns on or before 30th of June 2023. For assistance, call 0711 099 999 or email callcenter@kra.go.ke. You can also visit any of the KRA service centers or any Huduma center countrywide. Kenya Revenue Authority. Tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
Sun is peeking through those clouds. In Nairobi, we'll see highs of 24 and lows of 13 today. Nakuru is sunny at 15, and it's 15 and partly sunny in Nyeri. 11 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 24, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Mombasa at 24. It's 24 and sunny as well. In Malindi, it will go to highs of 29. Sunny at 20 in Kisumu, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 28 in a sunny Kakamega at 16. Kampala will be cloudy through the day. It's 21 degrees, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 28 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 25. 9 degrees and clear in Joburg, highs of 20 and lows of 3 today. And it's partly cloudy at 25 in Lagos. It's cloudy at 23 in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 30.
Spice up your life.
Coming off of Kamburo this morning, we're also looking at heavy coming off of the Thika Superhighway. Use the service lanes, Garden City and Allsops coming in. Use those. They will help. Those two accidents have slowed things down considerably this morning. And then coming into Moranga Road, you should be all right as you get to the Globe Cinema overpass. Overpass. All right. Limuru Road also pretty busy. We're also looking at traffic coming in from North Airport Road, it seems to be dwindling, so that is good. Outbound traffic on Waiyaki Way is going to be the thing this morning to look out for. So if you're heading out of the city, careful. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving this morning.
Are you ready? Okay. Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Using the Situation Room on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on YouTube and Facebook. Remember, if you ever miss out a conversation, maybe because you were in a meeting, you got up late, there was a power blackout, one reason or the other, you can still catch up with the conversations whenever. If you just go to YouTube and you search Spice FM, and you will find all our daily conversations. Captain Ronald Karauri, the Member of Parliament for Kasarani constituency, is our guest this morning. City.
Captain Mheshimiwa.
Yes,
sir. Why did you run on an independent ticket?
Of course, well, when I started on Jubilee.
Oh.
I started on Jubilee.
Mm-hmm.
Then the ticket was given away.
It was given away.
These are another short story.
The ticket was given away. So at that point, I asked myself, if I go to the general election, will the ticket again be given away?
So you said no.
I was assured that, the main election is not like nominations, it will be okay. So I went independent. Yeah, I was initially Jubilee.
We talk about this all the time, and City likes asking all politicians. Before one becomes a member of parliament, you see them in their private life, and you see them maybe even getting platforms on media to articulate on issues and say what they feel ought to happen. And you're like, these are the people that we need in parliament. These are the people that need to go there.
You admire these people.
You admire them. You look at somebody and you look at their track record. Look at, okay, so you have been a captain, you have served at Kenya Airways, you left, you went into private business, you excelled, you've handled billions. We talk about billions here, like you've signed off.
For us, it's an academic
billions. You have dealt with, and you've seen the impacts of your small business in the grand scheme of things on communities and on events such as sports, and then you decide you go into parliament. What happens to people when they go to parliament? That's a question that City always asks.
Yes, it baffles me completely.
It must be the water.
Okay.
It must be the water.
It happened at the gate. Yes.
So City, I think all I can assure you is personally, I've not changed. So my voice might not be the loudest. That's the disadvantage I have, being an independent. But it's also good because I have the freedom to speak my mind. My voice might not be the loudest now, but you will see my voice becoming louder as we proceed. But what usually happens, especially what I've seen, is with the political parties. With the political parties, it becomes a bit difficult. I've seen honorable members, good people, clearly know what they are saying or doing is wrong. But they must do it.
Because they've been whipped by the party.
Yes, because of being whipped by the party.
Okay.
I've seen it several times. So I think that's actually where we need to
and by party here, do we mean structures of a party, or do we mean individual leader of the party? What's the difference?
Individual leaders, individual leadership of the party. But because there's two aspects. Remember now, Kenya Kwanza is government.
Yes.
So that's a different kind of whipping. I tell you why it's different. And the president says it several times, but people take it to mean like it's threatening. I don't think it's a threat, because he even tells the MPs, we campaigned together with you. And for some of the MPs, some MPs have even mentioned to me, this election was quite difficult. Then the president came one of the last days, changed everything, and I won. We campaigned together on the same platform, with the same manifesto, and we promised 1, 2, 3 things. Now, I'm trying to actualize those things. You're trying to say, I don't do it. Now, that's a different kind of whipping. You get my point? There's another kind of whipping of saying, okay, whatever those guys do is wrong. You don't need to have a reason. It's wrong. Now,
so long as it's them doing it,
as long as it's them,
it's wrong.
We cannot allow it. Give them the hardest time possible. Now, and this is the politics of Kenya.
These are words. These are words that you actually hear spoken.
I've heard those words. Believe me, I've heard those words spoken. So when you hear, for example, Osoro saying the bill must pass, remember he has a job. It's his job. He's a majority whip. He has to ensure that it passes. So he's not lying. He has to make sure it passes. But in terms of what document comes to be passed, he actually said that one I leave it to Parliament in terms of the amendments and whatever. But once it comes to that final stage where it has to pass, I have to do my job. So he's not lying. He's saying the truth. So what we have to try and ensure, and that's where Azimio should come in as opposition, is to ensure those specific amendments that they want are part of that final finance bill.
Yeah.
When it comes to the committee of the whole house, they have their amendments there. Instead of saying, we are waiting to vote no, because first of all, they don't even have the numbers. So if you're waiting,
no will have zero impact.
Exactly. Telling people no, even now you're telling the public you're going to vote no, you're not going to change anything. So if you're being responsible as leaders, what you should do, propose those amendments and say, housing, we want it 1.5, like Raila had proposed before. These are the things we want to reduce, add here and there. Give those proposals so that when it comes to that day, you'll have achieved something. As opposed to saying, we'll vote no. That no vote will go nowhere. It won't go anywhere. Everybody knows. But the perception they will give, and remember, this is what the perception they want to give.
Yeah.
And it's all politics. Is to say, we refused that bad finance bill, and President Ruto forced it down our throats. But that's very misleading, because as a responsible opposition, you have a role to play to bring those amendments, because you know at the end of the day, finance bill must pass. You allowed the budget to pass without saying anything. So now why are you shooting down finance bill? Where is the money supposed to come from? So, as I said before, even if the bill comes today in its current form, even myself, I'll vote no. Yeah, and at that point, even Okia Mtata can go to court and say it's unconstitutional because it passed. There's even public outcry. You see, when we say public participation, it means even the media, what people are talking about, you've taken it, you've heard. You can't say we didn't hear anything and we've passed it as it is. So at that point, Okia Mtata can go to court and say this is unconstitutional. There's no way a bill can come. They do public participation. It remains the same
nothing.
That's ridiculous. So at that point, he can go to court. Right now, he's going prematurely because, of course, the certificate of urgency is going to court. Again, this is populism. That thing cannot go anywhere. There's no court that will stop that finance bill because the process of public participation has not happened. Nothing has happened for him to go to court and say all those things he's saying because public participation can remedy many of the issues he's said. There's a possibility. It might not or it might. That's why you have to go after and say, look, these guys did all this thing. I see mischief because 1, 2, 3 things didn't happen.
So the finance bill as it currently stands is a proposal.
Correct.
It is when it is passed that you can refer to it as the bill.
Correct. As an act.
Now it's an act.
No, now it's a bill.
Now it's a bill.
Then
when it's passed, it becomes an act.
Correct.
Now you can take the act to court.
Yes. So this act is unconstitutional because 1, 2, 3, 4. The courts are very reluctant to interfere with the legislative because they say, let them do their work first. Because now you're preempting and saying, these guys have proposed, for example, he says, this housing, you cannot force people to save.
Yeah.
I think
it has not passed yet.
Sure.
Yeah, so...
I think what irks me is that at the end of the day, you may think that the opposition gets the short end of the stick and then whoever else gets the longer end of the stick. But for me, the people who perennially get the short end of the stick are the people of Kenya. The people who have to sit and be the audience towards this circus. The people who have to sit and listen to these things. And if you can figure it out to say, I mean, it is clear that you can figure it out to say that people are either in there delving for their own expediency or making sure that they are, playing to the tune, dancing to the tune of the piper. The question remains then, what happens to the people? What happens to the majority of the people for whom their representation is vested in under 300 people?
Yes.
Who are supposed to be there actually speaking for these amendments that you're talking about. It's not hard to figure. It's not rocket science. And I keep saying, even rocket science, somebody's a rocket scientist. Somebody figured it out and is actually doing that business, right? So if you can say that an opposition should just not come out and say no, blanket no, that you can propose certain things. If those in the majority should not just come out and say blanket yes, and it doesn't make sense. If we can see that that is what should be happening, the question is then, why do they not do it? And if we can figure out a why, then those folks should not be in those positions.
I get you. And what I want to say is that, do you know, they're actually doing it. You know, there's two things they do. They're actually doing the process because the committee is working. When you look at Parliament, you'll see MPs from Azimio side proposing those. You will see it. They will propose those amendments. But the problem is that the message they relate to the public. That's what I'm trying to say. When they go now, they come on radio, for example, they will say something different.
Yeah.
When he's in Parliament, he'll actually propose and say, this is what I want
He'll
amended.
be pushing some amendments.
They will actually do it. But now when they come out, they mislead the public to say, we are going to just say no. Of course, they'll vote no, but they will still propose amendments because they know that process must continue that way. So my issue is in how they come to the public and convey that information just to raise political temperatures. So they'll just say, no, that thing is so bad that it cannot pass. I'll say no. We've had bad finance bills before, and they've been debated. And people propose amendments. Sometimes they don't pass, sometimes they pass.
Yep.
It's not new. What is new is that Kenya, we've had 5 years of no opposition. So it seems very new, but it has been there. And this will be our way of life moving forward. It'll be our way of life. So I think politicians, where they go wrong is that when they whip up those emotions and they mislead the public, and they know the process themselves, and they will go to that parliament and follow that procedure and actually propose amendments and get to the end of the stage where we have to first pass the finance bill, and they will do it. But when they come on radio or on the streets, they say something completely different.
You know, there's something you said, and it ties in very, very nicely with what we were talking about in the hour prior to this one. You say politicians actually listen to their people. Okay, so are we therefore saying that this drama we see in Parliament, or this drama we sometimes see when they come, say, to a place like this, is for the people, or is it for themselves? Because there's an audience they're pandering to. There's someone who's listening to what they're saying.
Yes.
So is that, we know it ends up, sum total, you're misleading. You're not speaking the truth as you should. But what purpose does that serve? Because at some point the truth will be known.
It is for the people.
Yes.
You see, now, how do I look like I'm the biggest opposition leader who is fighting for...
If I don't,
I'm not seen fighting in Parliament.
But you see...
Because you see, like yesterday, the Speaker has ruled already. The fighting is not going to change anything. How is it going to change something? The issue probably with what the Speaker did, maybe it sets a precedent, because I don't know whether a judgment or an order now stopping the Speaker from doing something clearly he should have done is enforceable in Parliament. I'm not sure. You know, I'm not a legal expert. But does it mean that in the future, if I just want to stop Speaker Wetangula from doing something, I just go get orders and I block him from doing something? So it does set a certain precedent. I don't know. And at the same time, Azimio have a point. They are saying, how can someone who has clearly defected, well, not defected,
is gone against
our whip.
What we stand for.
Exactly.
How can she whip us?
Exactly. There's a huge point there. So I don't know whether that's supposed to be sorted internally. I don't know whether with the political parties tribunal, but something needs to be done on that side. They need to sort that out for sure. Yes, but they should still participate in the legislative process.
You see, the point that I was making earlier on with regards to the county has been made well by what you've said, because then you're asking, if as politicians who aspire to be leaders, you feel that you promote your cause by not telling the whole truth when you should, what then do you think you're setting in motion? Because that seems to be the fodder that you feed people on.
Yeah.
Do you really believe that there will be no comeback, that at some point this will not ricochet and come back to you in a form you probably will not want? Is it not better to have a population that actually is very well informed for your sake and even for the future of this career that you've chosen? Because if we are saying that what they say are untruths, unfortunately the truth will come out, and often at the most inconvenient times even for you.
It's true.
And how will that help you?
And so that's why you're not a politician. You see,
sorry.
you're thinking, you're 100% right. 100% right. But your thinking is now, I don't know how
My thinking is misguided.
It's not the politician's
It
thinking.
doesn't fit in this.
Exactly.
But maybe this is where we as the citizens, as the voters also have got to take a responsibility. How is it that we listen to somebody, we elect them, and then we expect that whatever they tell us always is right? And we don't even sit back and have our own information. How do we not understand the budget making process and the entire cycle and what comes before the other, right? This is where we ought to find ways of educating ourselves. Okay, civil society has a role to play here as well in terms of just making sure that there is proper political and civic education in the country. Budget making cycle, when does it begin? How important is the month of September in the entire budget making cycle? How important is the month of February when the first documents start landing in Parliament, and what happens after that? Because if we understood all these things, if we understood the budget policy statement, the budget estimates, and then the finance bill, and where each of them sits, then would be having conversations at the right time over the right things.
Correct.
But we can't just be sitting back and saying, you know what, politician will go and play the game. They're playing that game because they know we're ignorant.
And that's why I was telling you.
That's the thing. That Kenyans, they don't expect
We
Kenyans
just-
to know or speak out. It's because they don't know. So we're the ones who are handling this thing because they don't know.
And remember, whatever is said in the public is supposed to play out in a certain manner. That's what I'm saying. When you see Azimio saying, we'll just say no. They know it's going to pass.
They know.
With the amendments. They know. It's not that they
So in the end, when it passes, they'll come and say, but you see, we rejected that thing.
Exactly.
We're not part of it.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying, like, for me, my interest is my Kasarani residents, for example. And I'm the one who knows my voters. Correct? So there are some things, of course, in the finance bill I know. These ones are going to help my voters or not help my voters. When we come to the subject of housing, I know everybody agrees houses are required. What they might not agree on is how do we get the houses.
Yeah.
But so far, me as a politician, a legislator, not a housing expert, I've got two proposals. 3%, 1.5. You get my point?
Yeah.
Meaning you must have the house.
Yes.
So it's this little detail of percentages that we will work
Exactly,
out.
because-
But I want the house.
Exactly. You get my point? Now, of course, other experts are coming on board now after the proposals and saying, no, the best thing is not to have a housing levy. We could have done 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
But those things are never on the table.
They are not currently on the table.
You get my point?
But then it then takes the discussion elsewhere. And the discussion now, is it really about the levy? What really are we discussing here? Or is it this perennial discussion we have as Kenyans as to what exactly or where exactly does our money
Exactly.
go to?
It's good you've said
we
that.
keep collecting this money. We pay that. Where does this money go to?
So what we have is a trust issue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because Kenyans are saying, look, you want me to again get deducted more money. You're calling this a housing levy. You'll give me back in 7 years. You'll do. There are all these stories that you're telling me when you take my money.
Yes.
And historically, we've seen this money either is stolen, people enrich themselves.
we've never seen the
We've
money.
never seen anything happening from this money, even the taxes we've paid before.
Yes.
But what I tell people is, we could say, there has to be a certain stage where change happens.
Yeah.
And that happens through faith. let me just put it like that. Because you cannot trust anybody. We could sit back and say, look, because we don't trust government, we're not going to do anything. We'll accept anything to be deducted.
Captain, now
But at some point,
should we add reverend to your...
no, situation. Let me tell you why I'm saying this. People bought the Kenya Kwanza agenda.
Yes.
A change. And that's how it was sold. A change from the old dynasty. New changes and regime. Why don't we then trust them? There's time. There's time. There's 1 year, 2 years, we will see. Because the voting comes again in 5 years. The destruction that has happened to the Kenyan economy up to now is already ridiculous.
Yeah.
5 years when people have hope. People had hope. Remember when Kenya
When they were
Kwanza,
voting.
they had
yes.
hope.
Yep.
Lots of it.
Lots of hope. This is going to happen. Now, when someone is trying to say, for me to achieve this hope that I sold, I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Now Kenyans don't trust. what I'm asking Kenyans, at some point you'll have to trust somebody if anything is to be done.
True.
Why not now? Are we waiting again for 5 years for somebody else to come tell us a story?
A different story.
Will you trust them? No, you will not. So why not start now? So that in case you're right, a lot of progress will be made in the next 5 years, 10 years. If not, we have 5 more years of waiting for the savior to come that we trust.
So we have time. Captain, thank you very much for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Keep coming and keep coming.
Yeah.
Captain Ronald Karauri is the Member of Parliament for Kasarani constituency, elected on an independent ticket, and that's why he's talking about those Kenya Kwanza guys and those Azimio guys. He's not in any of those camps. He's sitting there safely and comfortably. He has been talking to us about the role of representation and what he is seeing as our politics. Keep it here. Next hour, we have a Healthy Friday conversation. You know about hospices? Have you heard of the hospices? Do you understand them? That is what we will be discussing. Remember, you need to file your tax returns. You've done that for yourself, Captain, didn't you?
Of course.
Ah, yes, very good. you have faced them.
I know
you do
them.
not want to deal with them
I
again.
know those people.
Very good. itax.kra.go.ke. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. A light aircraft was last night forced to make an emergency landing at the Kisumu International Airport after developing mechanical problems. Kenya Airports Authority says the aircraft suffered a landing gear failure. It had 2 occupants inside who included a trainee pilot and an instructor. They are, however, said to be safe since they were rushed to hospital for precautionary medical assessment. The incident comes a few days after KAA also reported another incident at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport involving a plane that crashed during a drill. Detectives are investigating the murder of a Brazilian missionary whose burnt body was found in an abandoned car in Mihoko area, Nairobi. The body was later identified as that of Francisco Antonio, who'd been reported missing at the Mihango police station in Kayole on Wednesday this week by his wife, Francine Barbosa. Police had hardly started their search when they were informed there was a burning car abandoned on the roadside in Mihoko, about 10 kilometers away from his workstation. South Pokot MP David Kosing has called on the government to compensate the 15 families who lost their loved ones due to banditry attacks reported this year in various areas in the county. Kosing also said that 12 other people are still being treated in various hospitals.
Na wale walijeruhiwa mpaka saa hii 12 wako hospitali. Na si naomba wewe sababu ni serikali. Wewe ukisema hapo waziri nothing will not happen when you say si naomba namna hii waziri. Wale watu wetu 15 waliwawa, compensate hiyo familia waziri, ndio wapate kitu kidogo kidogo waziri, kwa huruma yako compensate hao familia. Na wale 12 wako hospitali, si tulikuajia pale, hiyo ni mzigo yako kuanzia sasa, lipa hiyo yote watoto wapone.
Kacheriba MP Titus Lote on his part also claims that the ongoing attacks witnessed between the Pokot, Turkana and Marakwet communities are not related to the theft of logs as before, but it's now a way of grabbing land. He called on Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki to determine the boundaries of the conflicting communities.
Mimi naomba waziri, kama vile waraia hao wote wanaomba, waziri, hii mauaji ya sasa sio tena ya ng'ombe. Mauaji ya sasa ni mauaji ya shamba.
This is not cat rustling. Hii ni expansionist kwa mambo ya mpaka. He is not cat rustling. Na mtu asikudanganye.
Wewe you are neutral and you are just. Please look at the documents that are there ya serikali na useme mimi nimesema ni hapa, utuchoree laini. Isipofanya hivyo tutaendelea kulumbana na tutalete maneno mingi. Malaysia sisi hiyo.
Kenya has been elected as a member of the United Nations Economic and Social Council after receiving 189 votes in support of its candidature. Permanent representative of Kenya to the United Nations, Ambassador Martin Kimani, thanked the UN for the election, pledging the country's readiness to deliver on its mandate. The country is expected to begin its 3-year term in January 2024. Police in Rongai, Kajiado County are investigating an incident where a woman allegedly killed her 2 children, stabbed her husband 3 times before attempting suicide along Masai Lodge Road. Christian Karimi, who is admitted at the Kenyatta Hospital in critical condition, is accused of stabbing the husband, Roger Sandere, after an argument. Neighbors say the couple has been having domestic issues. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has taken a forced leave after testing positive for COVID-19. In a statement, Museveni said he has delegated his duties to Prime Minister Robina Nabanja. He explained that this will be his second time forced leave as president in the last 53 years. He, however, said that he is in good health and only experiencing mild symptoms. And finally, in the international scene, a priest in Athens has been suspended after including 2 girls as altar servers in the church service, angering hardliners in the country's all-male Orthodox church. The parish of Saint Nicholas Ragavas in the capital said Father Alexandros had been verbally suspended by the head of the Church of Greece in order to safeguard the country's dominant Orthodox faith. According to the Greek constitution, the church is all-male and staunchly conservative. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The Thika Superhighway is still pumping with traffic getting towards the CBD this morning. You're looking a lot better on Kiambu Road today as you get towards Muthaiga Square. So you shouldn't have had too much trouble dealing with that right about now. Let's look at Jogo Road. Coming in from Makadara out towards Landis. As you come to that junction of the City Stadium roundabout, there's some traffic there. It's not too bad on Waiyaki Way today, inbound at least. Outbound traffic is still doing that thing. Limuru Road will not be too bad. We're looking at coming in from Ruaka, touching on United Nations Avenue and then through towards Muthaiga. Slow moving, however, so that's good. Let's see in about half hour what it turns out to be. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This
All right,
is the
good morning.
Situation Room.
It is 6
the
minutes
only
after
way
9.
to...
How are you doing? Welcome to the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. CT Muga, Ndu is talking to you. He's trying to get your attention. Ndu? Okay, I've sorted you out. Now you sort me
You're
out.
a good man.
Are you okay now, Luke?
Now, I'm good.
All right.
You're a good man, and because of that, let me tell you what Sarit is doing.
Very good.
Sarit is celebrating 40 years of existence. It's Sarit's birthday, and you can go on down to the Sarit Centre every day between 1 and 2 p.m. Do your shopping as you normally would. Experience Sarit, your city. Spend 2,040 shillings. Now, with that receipt, you go down to the reception and you spin the magic wheel and find out where you will land. You could land on a cruise. You could land on a car. You could land on shopping vouchers, dining vouchers, whatever it is, because Sarit is turning 40. We here at Spice FM are going to help Sarit celebrate as well. Tell us on our social medias, Facebook and YouTube, at Spice FM KE, how you would spend 2,040 shillings. And we'll give you a hamper going into the weekend. How about that?
Hivo.
See, the way you help me, I help you.
Hivo. Same way I'm helping you by telling you, if you go to your phone right now, go to your App Store or Play Store and look for 911 Group. It's an app. Download that app for free. Yeah. Download the app. And whenever you are faced with an emergency, let's say you're somewhere and you're feeling a bit unwell and you go like, okay, I need to be rushed to hospital. You're driving and your vehicle breaks down and you need to be sorted. You are somewhere and you're just feeling a bit unsafe and you want to be rescued as well. You open the app, you press it's always a red button,
Always.
Press the red button. And when you press it, it activates at the 911 call center and they can see you exactly where you are from your GPS coordinates of your phone, and they'll dispatch a team to come to your rescue. How's about that?
Fantastic.
Right? It's Friday. Every Friday we have a Health Friday conversation. And today we're having one about hospice and what hospice is, how it helps us, what it means. And for that reason, we are joined by two doctors in the studio. One of them is Dr. Esther Muinga. She's a special coordinator for pain relief and palliative care. And Dr. Esther Nafula. She is a palliative care and pain management specialist at the Kenyatta National Hospital. Good morning, Dr. Esther and Dr. Esther.
Good morning.
Karibuni sana. For purposes of this conversation, we've agreed before we went on air that Dr. Esther Nafula will be referred to as Nafula and Dr. Esther Muinga will be referred to as Esther. Sawa. Now we know. How are you, Nafula?
I'm fine, thank you.
Very well. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. And Dr. Esther, how are you?
Very well.
She's in KNH. Where are you?
KEPCA. It's called KEPCA.
What is that?
KEPCA is Kenya Hospices and Palliative Care Association, which is an NGO that coordinates palliative care services in Kenya. So working closely with people like Nafula at KNH.
So the H is silent somewhere in that KEPCA?
Yes, it's silent.
The Kenyan Hospices and Palliative Care Association. Where is the H?
Hospice is not a hospital.
Okay. Karibu sana. To welcome you to the show, CT has the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week have been from the country of Malawi, whose commercial capital is?
I keep forgetting.
Begins the B.
Blantyre.
And whose administrative capital is?
Lilongwe.
Yes.
Okay.
Coming to Kenya, which is our administrative capital?
Nairobi.
Commercial capital?
Nairobi.
How dull. Okay.
And you know,
please.
We need to have Isiolo as a capital of something.
It would help tremendously, wouldn't it?
Okay.
A piece of incense may be as large as the knee. This is the proverb, by the way. I'm not just making a statement. I'm reading the proverb. A piece of incense may be as large as the knee, but unless burnt, emits no fragrance.
Dr. Esther, what do you make of that proverb? What's your interpretation of it?
Nice proverb.
Yeah, it's a nice proverb. We all agree, yes. What? So now?
Incense, unless you burn it, you'll never get its full benefit. So unless you activate or do something. So for this case, just lighting the fire makes the incense functional. Yeah.
Dr. Nafula, you sound like you're escaping and you cannot use the same answer that's been given before. Your interpretation must be unique to you.
So how I understand that proverb is that, incense can be something big, but unless you burn that incense, you will not get the benefits or the fragrance. So for any activity, whether it is big or small, it's the impact that matters.
Right. Good.
How many points do you have to give today,
CT?
5,000?
No. Actually, it's 10 out of 10 because we asked for their opinions and that's what they've given us, their opinions. Yes. With proverbs and interpretation, you can't be wrong. Yes. Even if you took the proverb somewhere else and say, when a camel walks backwards, and I'd say, that's your interpretation. Fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Nafula,
Yes.
what is palliative care and how is it different from pain management?
Okay, palliative care, if I was to define it, I would call it to be the interventions that are given to a patient and a family as they're going through problems that are associated with a chronic, life-threatening or life-limiting illness. So
Chronic illnesses are those that require patients to be in and out of hospital. They get a lot of care, and they need a lot of support from the hospital, from the family, from the society. Life-threatening illnesses are illnesses that can be cured, but sometimes they become fatal, like COVID. Then we have life-limiting illnesses. Those are illnesses that are likely to progress and get worse with time. So when we give patients palliative care, we focus not just on their physical problems, that you've come with pain. We also look at how is this illness impacting your psychology, how is it impacting your family life, how is it impacting your work, what are you thinking about it in the spiritual domain. So what kind of support can we actually give to this individual and their family so that they can be able to cope with that illness and the changes that come with the illness. So pain management would be basically just focusing on pain. So you have pain, where is your pain? How is this pain making you feel about yourself? How is it impacting your activities? So it would be focused just on pain. But palliative care deals with pain and other symptoms that come along with an illness.
You've studied medicine.
Yes.
You become a doctor. Now, what do you need to study to become a pain specialist?
You need to study pain management for a couple of years more. After medical school, you'll go through intensive pain training that could last anywhere from 1 year to 4 years.
Okay, what is it called? We know OBGYN,
Yes.
we know pediatrics, we know internal medicine.
Cardiology.
We know those ones.
Pain management.
It's just pain management. That's what it's called.
Yes.
Connie, those 7 years when you
Yeah.
were doing the Bachelor of Surgery and Medicine, you didn't deal with pain?
Just a little bit. So when you go
7
into-
years, a little bit of pain. And you're
There's a lot.
studying to be a doctor.
You see, there's a lot to study to become a doctor.
No wonder the
So
other
now
doctors
when
are
you
like that.
specialize when you specialize in pain management, you go into now details. You just focus on pain as a disease, not just as a symptom. But how do you treat pain? How do you manage pain? What is pain? So there's really more to it than what is taught in undergraduate.
Dr. Nafula, talk a little bit more about this.
Yes.
Pain as a disease. What do you mean? Because we've grown up to believe pain is a symptom.
Yes.
But now as a disease, what is this?
So pain is considered a symptom, as
Yes.
you rightly said. So it usually points out to an underlying problem. But in many cases, patients with chronic pain, you find that they have a disease that cannot be cured. That is resulting in pain.
Chronic meaning?
More than 3 months.
So it's
You've
continuous?
had pain, yes.
It's just continuing 3 months. It's not stopping.
Yes.
Okay.
And you might get interventions for the pain, but they're not working. That means someone is taking painkillers, the pain is not going away. So sometimes there might be an underlying cause of the pain that we can treat. We might be unable to treat, or some patients just come with what we call a complex pain. You might not really isolate and say this is the cause of pain, but yet you still have to manage the pain. So you still have to ensure that your patient is comfortable and able to go on with their daily activities. If they want to go to work, they're able to do that. But yet there is pain that they have to live with.
Okay.
Yeah, so when we do pain management, we focus not just on painkillers, but on the holistic nature or on the whole person. So this, when you have chronic pain, you will not go to work. You might not be able to function at home.
Yeah.
You might be spending a lot of time just locked up in your room thinking about the pain. So how do we support you more than just giving pain medications?
Where? Okay. Dr. Esther, so what is a hospice?
Hospice, it's not where you throw away patients.
You heard him, huh?
Yeah.
I did not say throw away. You know, this man was talking about this place
Warehousing
where
patients.
you keep old people. That's what I refer to as the warehouse. Yes.
So a hospice is basically a terminology that talks about a place where you're taking care of patients. So it's not really a building, it's just a philosophy of care where you're caring for their needs, whether it's a child, an adult, an elderly person with conditions that Dr. Nafula has mentioned. So in developed countries, hospices are actually limited to the last 6 months of life. But in Kenya, where we are, a hospice provides palliative care services for these patients, which is basically taking care of their symptoms if they have, whether they are physical symptoms, whether they're emotional, psychological, social issues. So in Kenya, we have hospices which are like, they're health facilities actually, located in different counties in Kenya, where you have palliative care providers who have studied palliative care. They'll take care of their needs based on based on the needs at that time. They can also be provided for this care within a hospital. So like Kenyatta has a palliative care unit where when a patient goes for example, they have a diagnosis of cancer, they're being seen by the oncologist, but they're also receiving the services in the palliative care unit with Dr. Nafula, or at the Nairobi hospice, which is just next to the hospital, where they're also able to see the patient at home. So there's home-based care, there's facility-based care.
Okay. Maybe you can, maybe debunk this, maybe a myth, but we've heard, so there's palliative care, which is, from what you've said, undertaken at a hospice. Can be.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
But oftentimes we think that it is only for conditions or diseases whereby there is nothing that can be done medically anymore. Is that the case? And if not, then can you separate those two for us? Because we often believe, I think, or we've heard, that those who are under palliative care,
end stage,
are end stage patients.
Essentially, terminally ill.
Terminally ill patients are those who are now receiving palliative care. Try to make you comfortable because there's nothing more that can be done. Is that true?
So actually, that was the past thinking, but where we are now, we offer palliative care services from the point of diagnosis. So if I have a condition that is life-threatening or life-limiting, or as Dr. Nafula has highlighted, anything that is going to change the way I've been living, it's not something that I'll get cured tomorrow. So it's not like malaria, you're assured of a cure. If I have maybe organ failure, for example, I would have a palliative care specialist working with me this journey, together with it's the internal medicine consultant, if it's the chest specialist. So we are offering palliative care for this patient. That is just taking care of their symptoms, taking care of their worries, as this other practitioner also does the specific management. So if I was to go back to the example of cancer, a patient going to the cancer center will be getting their radiotherapy or chemotherapy, as the palliative care team takes care of their symptoms, the pain, the psychological issues, among many other things. So basically from the point of diagnosis and not really giving up, but it continues up to the end of life. Okay. So if you get to end of life, now where death is imminent, the care still continues. It's just that now the palliative care takes more center stage, and the curative treatments are now reduced.
Can you give palliative care for somebody who does not have a terminal illness condition?
We wouldn't call them terminal. Well, terminal is one of them, is one of the inclusive criteria, but you are looking at anything that is causing serious health suffering.
Okay.
I would put it that way.
Okay.
So, for example, a patient who has had a diagnosis of COVID, sounded really simple, but then now they've had to go to ICU, they've had complications. Palliative care really helps them too, because you're not just looking at the COVID, but you're looking at the person in totality. So palliative care, I would say, is a type of care that looks at the person in totality and not just at the disease the person has. Yes.
Okay.
And maybe I can chip in. Palliative care as a movement started in 1960s, but before then people were still receiving palliative care. If you look at the history of our communities back home, people were taking care of dying patients, and they would focus not just on the fact that someone is dying, but they would want to know, whom do you want to talk to, how can we help you through this process. So in the 1800s, hospice care was started by the Catholic Church. Mostly it was being offered to poor, dying patients by the church as part of mission, especially the Catholic Church. So around the 1960s, the pioneer doctors who took up palliative care, one was a psychiatrist, Dr. Kubler-Ross. The other one was a urologist, Professor Belfort-Mount, and they were working a lot with cancer patients. But again, a lot of studies they did was among dying cancer patients. So it started off as hospice care, that we are taking care of dying patients. But with time, these interventions are needed not just for a dying person, but anyone who has a serious medical condition. Take a child who is born with a heart problem. Some of these children will live up to adulthood, but with a lot of suffering because they have pain. Their life is not going to be normal like another child. They're not going to be out playing and developing like you would expect a normal child to develop. So such children also need palliative care, because what we do, there is the medical management where we will take care of your diagnosis, but then there is the communication. How does the family handle this child? What do they talk about? How do they make plans for the future? So those are some of the things that we do when we're giving palliative care. So end of life is part of it, but it's not the only thing that we do for patients.
So essentially, the entire process is incomplete if the family is not involved.
Exactly.
Now, when you look at the flow of patients who come for the services that are offered in the part of the hospital that you work in, do you see the numbers increasing? And if you see the numbers increasing, and we're talking about pain, what exhibits as the most common cause of the pains that people come with? And beyond relief, do you find that it is possible to eliminate the pain completely? And if so, in what sort of pain? Caused by what specifically?
So in my practice, I've been working in this field now about 7 years. And I would say the common cause of pain is actually psychological and spiritual pain. So patients do come with pain and they say, my tummy hurts. But when you sit with them and discuss with them, a lot of their pain burden is because of maybe the social isolation that they're facing at home. So someone is sick and their family only interacts with them maybe 1 hour. Typically when someone comes to visit a sick person, they stay in the sitting room with relatives, and then when they're leaving, they pass by the bedroom to say hi to the sick person and then leave. Sick people, like elderly people, you find that their children have taken over, making all decisions. They've taken over their finances. So that is what even increases the physical pain. Because someone is sick, their life has changed. They are not independent anymore. They have to depend on their family. But this same family is isolating them from decision making. You find someone has been bundled on a plane to go to India. Nobody consulted them.
They were not aware that they are going to.
Yeah. What kind of treatment do you want? What do you wish for yourself now that you are not able to make decisions? So that is one of the biggest causes of pain.
Or they've determined this person can't make decisions.
Yes. But without
involving them.
Yes.
Without public participation.
Yes. Even when they come to hospital, they want to speak on behalf of the patient and tell you that my father has a swollen abdomen, he's not feeding, his appetite is poor, yet your father is seated right there and he can speak for himself. So a lot of the physical pain is worsened by the emotional pain. Then spiritual issues come into play. Someone is sick, you find you've been a pastor all your life, you dedicated your life to serving God, then now you're 80 and you get sick. And we are telling you cannot be cured. So this person decides, I'm no longer interested in church, but the family is coming now, we want to pray for you. So we don't really pay attention, to the needs of the patient. So as much as we give them a prescription of painkillers, sometimes the pain goes away just by talking and getting people to understand how to support the patient versus just giving you a prescription, go and take this medication 3 times in a day.
Anecdotally speaking,
yes,
what percentage of patients fall into this category of people who have psychosomatic issues?
I would go with 7 out of 10. So they always have physical pain, yes, that we will manage, but without managing the other social, psychological problems, we are not able. The painkillers will not work because there is a lot of anxiety.
And you say it's on the increase.
Yes.
Okay. So what causes? Is it that? Because clearly the family members all care for you.
Yes.
And they care for you deeply. And that's why they are doing all these things. They're involved. They have taken your disease to be theirs. And what they think they're doing is they're taking away the burden.
Yes.
So you just deal with the physical pain. We will deal with all the other pains and all the other burdens. Now, if you come and tell the family, okay, now you need to involve him, how do you do that? How do you actually make them understand that this person can still shoulder the heavy burden? Because you see, this is the same person who's telling you, you guys, no, India, so...
Eric, this is the person who brought you up.
Yeah.
Okay? This person who now you don't want to consult.
But you see,
you got to where you are.
At some point, there will be public participation, but you will see this patient almost getting to the point of giving up. This is a person who will start telling you, you guys... No, the India. He's already thinking, India, how much does it cost? Now, these are my children. Am I now going to start being a bother to them and start, even affecting their own livelihoods by them taking me through this? So this person is basically trying to push back and saying, I don't want to be in this hospital. You people have brought me into a very big room. Can't you just take me home? Because the person is actually, what they're thinking about is the bill that he's incurring while he's here. And he knows his money is not paying this bill.
I mean, he hasn't stopped being a parent.
He hasn't stopped being a parent.
He's
so
still
he's
caring for his...
Yes.
And you now as the children are caring and saying, no, we will give our dad, our mom the best care that we can afford. We will do everything. We will break our backs. We will sell little that we have to make sure that our father gets the best care because he brought us up. Our mother does this. Is that conflict? How do you balance that conflict?
So, as we've emphasized, palliative care is about the patient and the family, but the patient comes first, then the family comes second. So, we have to assess a patient and understand what are your needs as a patient. Even if I have pain, my biggest priority might just be to get out of bed, not to get cured. So, we have to understand how to support the patient. So, the family comes in to support the patient. So we start by assessing the patient, understanding their needs. Even if it's a child, we ask for consent. Please allow us to have a session with your child, understand what they're going through because they're the ones who are sick. Then we do have what we call family conferences where we call the family members and the patients guide us to know who are the important family members or the decision makers in the family. And we organize meetings. Sometimes it's one meeting, sometimes it is several meetings. But those meetings, the agenda is usually first to discuss the diagnosis, treatment options, then the prognosis, what is the likely outcome of this disease. Okay. And then as the medical team, what kind of care are we recommending? Then now what does the patient wish? For example, even if you want to take someone to India, does the patient wish to actually get a second opinion, be it in Kenya or outside the country? So that's where we start from, to establish what the goals are, what the goals of care are, and then to help the patient and family come to a good decision. Because we've seen patients who go out, but they come back in caskets, or they go out, they spend all their resources and they're told this disease is incurable. So they are back to us to receive palliative care in Kenya.
Yeah.
So we try to help the patient and the family to make the decision that is best for everyone. At that time. But the center has to be the patient. Yes.
Let's take a break. It's 28 minutes to 10. This Health Friday conversation is about hospice and palliative care, and we're joined by two experts. Dr. Esther Mwinga is a special coordinator for pain relief and palliative care at the Kenya Hospice and Palliative Care Association, KAPCA. The H is silent. Dr. Esther Nafula is a palliative care and pain management specialist at the Kenyatta National Hospital. The H is not silent. It's KNH. The two doctors are here, and I'm sure, or at least I'm hoping, that the two doctors have filed their tax returns. Have you?
Yes.
Dr. Nafula has. Dr. Esther has not. She's
I
just saying,
have.
of course. You have, huh?
I have.
Very good. If you haven't, please do so. Go to itax.kra.go.ke. File your tax returns by the end of this month, because afterwards you'll start accruing penalties and interest. And it's not a good thing. It's something that is so simple to do. You better just do it.
Bro, the game is about to start. Let's go. Yeah. But just give me a minute, man. Malize. What's up? Who are you chatting with? I'm just filing my returns, then we bounce. Because I hope you remember the deadline is June 30th. The game will start, banner. Where? It doesn't take time. And yep, I'm done. That was fast. Where? Show me how you've done yours, because I don't want to pay any penalty. Just log into itax.kra.go.ke and file your returns. And if you don't know how to, just go to KRA's YouTube page and watch a tutorial. It's that easy. Allah, filing returns is easier than cooking. Easy peasy, say.
Kenya Revenue Authority reminds all PIN holders to file their 2022 tax returns on or before 30th of June 2023. For assistance, call 0711 099 999 or email callcenter@kra.go.ke. You can also visit any of the KRA service centers or any Huduma center countrywide. Kenya Revenue Authority. Tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
London Mulwa DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Eh?
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
All right, so we're looking at sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning, going to highs of 24 and lows of 13. It's sunny at 15 in Nakuru and sunny at 15 in Nyeri. We'll see highs of 24 in a sunny Eldoret, currently at 11, and it's mostly sunny at 24 in Mombasa, highs of 29 and lows of 24. Sunny at 24 in Malindi and sunny at 20 in Kisumu. It's 16 and sunny in Kakamega. And looking into Kampala, sunny through Friday, highs of 27 and highs of 28 in Dar es Salaam. At the moment, it's 26. It's 10 degrees and sunny. We'll see lows of 3 in Johannesburg. And at 24, Lagos is partly cloudy, highs of 30. Cloudy at 23 in Kinshasa, going to highs of 30. Friday afternoon at 32 in Beijing. Going into evening, we'll see highs of 33 and lows of 19. It's sunny at 17, getting into the summer months in Paris. 11 and mostly sunny in London, highs of 24. Cloudy conditions at 17 Thursday night in New York. Coming into Friday, highs of 21 and lows of 14.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, coming past Utali at the drift there on the Thika Superhighway, heavy traffic going into the city. It's bumper to bumper. It's moving in some places. We've asked folks to use the service lanes through the morning because of those accidents that we saw. They've been cleared up by now, but the dregs of traffic still there. Kiambu Road looking a little bit better now, getting into the city. We're seeing some traffic coming off of, where's this? This is Riverside heading now towards Westlands. That's pretty busy. For now, it will continue. We're looking at also traffic getting into the city coming in from Landis Road, heavy off Jogo, and Langata Road looked pretty good all morning. It probably will stay that way for the rest of the morning. Let's see through the day. Spice FM KE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving either way.
Business News with Spice FM.
A local independent power producing company is set to commission 35 megawatts of electricity from the Menengai Geothermal wells by July this year. Sosion Energy undertaking its operations in Menengai, Caldera and Nakuru under a private-public partnership is in its final stages and is expected to inject 35 megawatts to the national grid. Sosion Energy Director Kigan Moi said the 35 megawatts will be commissioned in phases with a fast 22 megawatts being injected into the national grid by the end of this month. The gap between Kenya's richest and poorest widened after a dip during the peak of the coronavirus pandemic, with the wealthiest taking home a record share of the nation's income. Income inequality rose to 38.9% in 2021 from 35.8% a year earlier, according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics data made public. This is measured by the Gini coefficient, which varies from 0% in cases of perfect equality to 100% in the most unequal distribution. Inequality dropped during the pandemic as high earners suffered bigger percentage drops in earnings, while the poorest benefited from a temporary increase in benefits.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Morning. Conversation continues. This Health Friday conversation is about hospice and palliative care in this country. We have two experts, Dr. Esther Mwinga, a special coordinator for pain relief and palliative care at the Kenya Hospice and Palliative Care.
You just want to let him say hospital.
And then there is from Kenyatta National Hospital, yes, Dr. Esther Nafula, palliative care and pain management specialist. So we, in our healthcare system, from level 1 to level 6, right? There's all those things and the cares that are available at each level and each stage. And then we have maternity, we have all these other specialist sides. Is hospice part of actually recognized stage in our healthcare system? And at what stage? What hospital offers hospice and palliative care? Is it stage level 3, level 4, level 6?
When we go back to the word palliative care, because that's the actual service being provided, palliative care should be available to the community level. So that means from level 1 to level 6, where Kenyatta lies. So as someone establishes a hospice, in Kenya, hospices are community-owned institutions or health facilities located within different counties. So it would still be registered at an appropriate level based on the services you provide. So there are some hospices that will just be doing home-based care. So that's reaching to level 1, 2. There are hospices that are offering inpatient care. So that's a bigger level facility. So it could go up to level 4, 5. There are palliative care services in level 6 facilities, so like Kenyatta National Hospital. So palliative care really cuts across level 1 to level 6. But in terms of establishment of the standalone centers, the registration would depend on how the Kenya Medical and Practitioners Dentist Council accredits you and what services you're offering, as well as the number of staff you're offering.
Does the government healthcare system establish palliative care and facilities across all these levels? Because government builds a maternity.
Yes.
Does government build hospices?
So far, government has not built hospices per se, but government has, the Ministry of Health has a palliative care policy that was launched in 2021, which was the first policy that actually recommends that these services should be available across all counties for all patients in need. So what government is encouraging is integration of these services, because we talk about palliative care cutting across different disease conditions, different age groups and age sets. So palliative care is one of the key services hospitals should be providing. Just the way you mentioned, there's maternity.
And mortuary.
And mortuary.
Yes.
Yes, there's palliative care. Like, you have to have a palliative care service within your facility.
So why don't they?
But so far, there's none that is built by government.
No,
it's integrated.
It's integrated care. Yes.
Let's explain to us how it's integrated.
Yes.
Yes.
So what integration means is that part of the services being offered in a government facility include palliative care.
Okay.
So if we look at KNH, Moi Referral, and the level 5 hospitals, which used to be provincial hospitals. Now they are county hospitals. So the government has given provision for palliative care services in these facilities. So we have staff who are offering palliative care, and we have rooms and times dedicated for palliative care. So that's what integration means, that instead of saying we are building a new center for palliative care, it becomes part of the services being offered within the healthcare system.
Only that it's right now restricted to PGHs and KNH, KUTTRH.
The biggest problem, I think the biggest challenge is skilled staff, because you need skilled staff to provide palliative care.
Sure.
So we do have a shortage of skilled staff in the country to provide palliative care.
So then does it become part of the prescription for care? And I think that because then, if already in the back of your mind you know that it's going to be a service of staff and there are only certain rooms, the likelihood of then it being on the list of things that a patient ought to do then reduces, doesn't it? Because if it's not widely available, it's not going to be one of the things that you prescribe unless you make a suggestion to somebody. Whereas, for example, if you know that somebody broke their foot, right, and they've come off the plaster, physiotherapy is one of the things that they will do in the treatment plan, isn't it?
Yes.
But here with palliative care, you know that it's going to be necessary at some point, but you will not be as readily excited to say palliative comes in, isn't it?
There's been a lot of milestones because in like 2007, there were only 14 centers providing palliative care for the whole of Kenya. Today, there are about 105 facilities. And these facilities, remember, in government hospitals, are in mission facilities, are in private hospitals, are in standalone hospices. So when we refer back to the term hospice in Kenya, because it's like a community. So for example, Spice FM would come together and say, we are setting up a hospice that is only providing palliative care services, palliative care services located at this center. The palliative care units within the other facilities where we are talking about integration would be providing you this service. As you walk in, you're going to physiotherapy, you're going to palliative care department.
Yes.
The hospice one, standalone, is just the way you'll see, for example, there's a maternity hospital set up just for that. So someone is at liberty to put that up, providing specialized care. So there could be specialist facilities, but there is the integration, which is what we recommend, because you want a patient to get all services at one place.
Okay. Yes. At what, and this may be taking us back a little bit, but just at what point then would you say it would be necessary, Dr. for a patient and their family to consider palliative care? I mean, I understand the encouragement around and saying, okay, you know, this is, you shouldn't travel or you should travel, blah. But at what point do you say, okay, this is the direction that you should be going in? It would not be an easy conversation to have, I can imagine. But then how do you say, okay, it is at this point that we need to then introduce the option of palliative care for someone?
So what we're encouraging, there's something we call disease trajectory. So from the time of diagnosis, you can predict the natural course of this illness. For example, if someone has malaria, we can predict that in 3 days, if we've not given you treatment, your liver is going to fail. So we need to treat this malaria, and within 1 week, you'll be off treatment. So at the time when a diagnosis is made, there are some illnesses that are likely to result in a lot of suffering. Or they need a lot of care and a lot of involvement and a lot of resources. So the current advocacy is that at the time when this diagnosis is made is the time when a patient should be referred to palliative care. I'll give you an example. In Kenyatta, we've managed for the children's wards, when a child comes in and they have a diagnosis of a congenital illness or a disease like sickle cell or cancer, those children are referred to palliative care. At that time, they might not need us to manage any pain or any symptoms, but what they need is information. So we sit down with the parents, talk about the disease, the treatment, what to expect. So in the event that the child is treated and they get well, it's good.
Okay.
In case they complicate, the family is already on board and they understand what interventions palliative care is coming to add.
Okay.
The word palliate itself actually means to cloak or to cover.
To cover.
So it is sort of an extra layer of support that we give to patients and families.
So would a doctor, for example, and let's just take a cancer patient as an example.
Yes.
So you have your oncologist who's dealing with this patient, right?
Yeah.
Would that doctor at that point, having seen the trajectory that you speak of, then come along with a palliative specialist? Kind of like a woman who's going into labor. The pediatrician is there.
Yes.
The obstetrician is there. There's somebody else in the room, I can't remember. But those people are all there, they come together.
The one for injecting you to sleep.
So in this case, would now that doctor then say, this care now needs to be extended and we bring in the specialist and let's go into this together?
That is actually the correct way to offer palliative care, and that's where a lot of the world is moving to as the practice of palliative care is evolving. That's where we are moving to. I think during COVID times we had a lot of palliative care being offered to patients with COVID, and the common question I got is, why are these patients receiving palliative care? But it's about understanding what interventions actually are involved and can benefit this patient.
Right.
Yes.
From everything that you've heard you mention and describe the palliative care, sounds like counseling.
No. Counseling is part of it. Counseling is part of it.
Okay, what are the other components?
So I could break it down. First, there's symptom management. So we look at the illness that the patient has. That's why palliative care is offered as a team. So you have a doctor, palliative care expert, to take care of your medical diagnosis, your treatments, scans, tests that are needed. Then you have nurses. Nurses will take care of the daily care of the patient.
Okay.
Then you have now the psychological bit. As a doctor, I might not be able to counsel someone. I might just give them information about their diagnosis, treatment, and help them to make a decision about their care. But now when it comes to psychology, we need a psychologist now to sit with you and help you to know how to cope with your illness. Then we have the spiritual leaders or chaplains that also help us with the existential issues.
City is smiling.
Yes.
So you now, Dr. Nafula,
Yes.
you're a palliative care and pain management specialist.
Yes.
What do you do, you now, you Wewe?
So
at
me,
KNH?
yes.
Beyond praying for your patients.
He was not going to make
I know. I don't pray for them. So what I do is to assess the patient. So if a patient has come in pain or with a diagnosis that needs palliative care, so my biggest role is to assess and give a treatment plan. That this, for example, someone has had a stroke, so we are going to treat the stroke with this medication. This is the kind of support that this patient needs. Then now we identify the team that needs to support the patient. So if the patient needs any scans done, any medications changed, that would be my work.
But I thought you said that there's going to be a specialist. So if it's cancer, there's going to be a cancer specialist.
So we work together.
And the cancer specialist then is dealing with those things of knowing what kind of medication that they need. So what will you be doing?
I'll prescribe the painkillers, for example. I will ensure this patient is not getting clots because they're bedridden. Yeah, so the medical care of that patient. Yes. But we work together with the primary physicians. Then at some point, as Dr. Esther explained, there gets to a point where the primary physician feels that we are not adding role to the care of this patient. We are not adding value because maybe we are no longer giving active treatment to manage the disease. So that patient is handed over now to palliative care. But you see, there's still a disease and there's still medical things that need to be managed that now I would do. Yes. Yeah.
How much does this cost?
In terms of the service itself, we've had an outline of what is actually involved. Yeah. So if you're talking about symptom management, you're looking at the review done by the healthcare team. There is the cost of the medications that will be prescribed. So that would depend on what is actually written on the prescription pad. If they need physiotherapist intervention, that's a separate cost. So when you're talking of palliative care, because it's multidisciplinary, that means there are many experts coming in to take care of this patient's needs. The fees actually depend on what actual services you're getting. But for example, if someone was to walk into Nairobi Hospice, they require palliative care services. They'd normally be the fees that you pay to open a file, then a consultation fee. So the rest of the charges would really depend on your needs, the needs of that patient at that time. And I would say it's quite affordable because the medications that we are prescribing would be things that the hospital or the healthcare system already lists in our essential medicines list. And the other bit is that if someone has the National Health Insurance, NHIF, you'd use that for your outpatient service or inpatient service. So outpatient, depending on the facility you've chosen. Inpatient, if someone is admitted at Kenyatta, they would use their card for that. Yeah.
So it's covered. So does it fall under? Would you? Because I can imagine now it being that kind of service that your insurance provider would tell you that it is a pre-existing condition. You know, that's language that's
nonsense.
The nonsense that we are told about it being a pre-existing condition and etc. etc. But then would insurance cover this? Because from this entire conversation, it is clear that at some point it is necessary to have this care. It is not cosmetic, you know.
Yes.
So insurance in this country, is it covering palliative care?
I would say it is because the only challenge that we've seen patients coming back with is because NHIF, I'll speak on behalf for NHIF, because for outpatient services you'd have to select a facility. So the card is only viable in facility X. Inpatient services, depending on the category of cover you've taken, you'd receive those services where you are admitted. In terms of the medications, as long as they're available within the facility, someone would still be able to use their card for those services. Yeah, and I think Dr. Nafula has been using NHIF in Kenyatta.
Yeah, but for private insurances, your diagnosis has to be covered by the insurance for them to pay for palliative care.
Yeah.
So if they say it's a pre-existing condition, you have to wait out the waiting period for them to cover any other treatment for that illness, including palliative care.
I have a tough question.
Yes.
Folks who get into palliative care for the time that they do, if you look at the numbers, what is in the majority? Those who make it or those who pass?
That's a tough question because in hospital, I mean, any patient walking through the doors of the hospital can die or survive. So I would not put a percentage to it because there are patients some patients we follow them up for a long time, some for a short time. And as we said, the interventions include pain management, symptom management, end-of-life care. So it really depends on what aspect of service the patient is getting.
Right.
Yes.
But over time, we've seen people living like long times, as she's talking about. So we had then Cancer Survivors Day being celebrated. It's celebrated every first Sunday of June. And there are patients who you'd see talking and saying, I got a diagnosis of cancer, because that one was focusing on cancer in 1980. They're still alive. There are others who got a diagnosis maybe recently, depending on the stage, then they pass on. So studies have actually shown if you were to give patients palliative care from early in the journey of their illness, you're able to improve their quality of life, because that's the main thing, improving their quality of life. You're able to improve their satisfaction, you're able to improve their coping mechanisms, and they're able also to be compliant with the primary doctor's treatment schedules.
You know, we get to the end of the show, but I have to ask this question. Those who offer psychological and spiritual help, how much knowledge do they have of the conditions that they're offering these services for?
So the ones we use, for example, in Kenyatta we have the whole team. We have a mental health department that has psychologists. So they have to be trained in clinical psychology. So they have been trained in how to deal with reactions that come with illness. They might not have much information about the diagnosis or treatment, but they know how to give psychological interventions. The chaplains we have are clinical chaplains. They've been trained in chaplaincy and spiritual care.
Right.
So their work is not to pray for patients, but to understand what the spiritual needs of the patients are and what kind of support the patient needs. So we work as a team. So I might identify...
Kazi yao si kuwekelea watu mikono peke yake.
Yes. They actually do have... recently I learned that they do have an assessment tool that they use to understand what the spiritual needs are and then prescribe the support. So we work as a team. So where the patient has gone for counseling and the psychologist feels this, you should have a chat with the patient just about diagnosis and treatment. That is where their problem is. They would send back the patient to us. Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us today, doctors. I wanted to get a question in, but there's no time. So that you can just address CT and explain the difference between hospice and what was it?
Care.
No,
warehouses.
The difference between a hospice and a warehouse. But that's for next time. Thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Esther Mwinga is a special coordinator for pain relief and palliative care at the Kenya Hospice and Palliative Care Association. I got it right.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Well done.
Dr. Esther Nafula is a palliative care and pain management specialist at the Kenyatta National Hospital. You know, CT is only one of 5 people from his village who can say hospital.
5.
Enjoy your weekend, people. Have a lovely one. Go to Sarit Center as they celebrate and commemorate 40 years of their existence. Sarit, your city. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is currently presiding over a national coffee summit that is aimed at coming up with recommendations to address challenges faced by the farmers in the country. Speaking at the event in Meru, Cooperative's CS Simon Chelugui says the intended coffee reforms will enable farmers to increase their income from the crop. The government, he said, intends to deal firmly with the multiple brokers and middlemen in the coffee production chain so as to improve the situation of the farmers.
Today, I want to highlight the importance of coffee subsector and our commitment to strengthening institutions within the Ministry of Cooperative and MSME and also the Ministry of Agriculture and by extension the Ministry of Trade. The bottom-up economic transformation agenda envisions a productive agriculture sector powered by smallholder farmers along the key value chains with the overall aim of reducing the dependence on basic food imports and revitalization of export crops such as coffee. Under the better coffee sector is one of the cash crops identified for revitalization, as it has been a key contributor to the national and rural economy in terms of foreign exchange earnings, improvement of farmers' incomes and their livelihoods.
Senate Ad Hoc Committee investigating the Shakahola deaths will today meet with the National Council of Churches of Kenya and the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya. Others are the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops and Hindu Council of Kenya at the Senate chambers. The death toll at Shakahola Forest in Kilifi County has risen to 251. Kasarani MP Ronald Karauri now says the proposed 3% housing fund in the 2023 finance bill was in UDA party's manifesto. Speaking at Spice FM, Karauri said that many Kenyans elected President William Ruto into government because of his manifesto.
Before things get better, they probably get a bit worse. And this is the first finance bill from this regime. And most of the things they're saying there, they promised. In Kasarani, they voted for UDA, except for me. From president to all the MCAs, it's all UDA. I'm the only person who was independent. And UDA kept going around with their manifesto. In fact, for the housing, for me, is the easiest one, if you ask me. Because, to me, it seems like both Kenya Kwanza and Azimio agree on that housing levy. Raila had mentioned it. And Ruto now is talking about it.
Karauri has further urged the opposition to create awareness on the details of the proposed finance bill instead of opposing and proposing items that they want to be changed.
Leaders going ahead to educate the people on what is required in terms of the finance bill, there's too much politics at play. I was very happy to see Esther Passaris come out and say some truths that needed to be said. But you can see, especially for Azimio, there's an opposition where they have very valid points sometimes, but other times it becomes a political affair, whereby nobody is going to benefit from that.
Families with palliative care patients are being urged not to isolate them from decision making. Palliative care specialist Ednah says this is because the common source of pain of such patients is psychological and spiritual.
So patients do come with pain and they say my tummy hurts, but when you discuss with them, a lot of their pain burden is because of maybe the social isolation that they're facing at home. So someone is sick and their family only interacts with them maybe 1 hour. Typically when someone comes to visit a sick person, they stay in the sitting room with relatives, and then when they're leaving they pass by the bedroom to say hi to the sick person and then leave. When they come to hospital, they want to speak on behalf of the patient and tell you that my father has a swollen abdomen, he's not feeding, his appetite is poor, yet your father is seated right there and he can speak for himself. So a lot of the physical pain is worsened.
And in the international scene, El Nino has begun in the Pacific Ocean, likely adding hit to the planet already warming under climate change. US scientists confirmed that El Nino had started, further saying that this will likely make next year the world's hottest year. They fear it will also help push the world past a key 1.5 Celsius warming milestone. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Obaga.
Spice FM, Malindi. The 90s have never sounded so good.
Thank God it's Friday.
Spice.
Keep the heads ringing.
Breathing life into the 90s.
You played the best music.
More of the classics and the hits.